Televisa presenta
Disparo a la cabeza. Editado por Pierre Chan.
Well, I disagree with Gary. I like the binge model, and it comes down to good shows. Everybody's looking forward to the next season of Cobra Kai.
No, it doesn't.
It's all about.
It doesn't make them any money.
It doesn't mean, Jeremy, that if Cobra Kai wasn't released weekly, that it would still have that same hunger for it to come back.
Right.
You know what Gary's saying is that they can get a lot more bang for their buck.
Stop making woke bullshit, and you can still release good stuff all through the year, and you don't need to prolong it because you're going to have good stuff. Like Squid Game became the biggest thing we've ever seen on the streaming platform, and it was the binge model.
I agree.
So you're saying Game of Thrones would have been just as big if it was a binge model?
It doesn't matter. You can bring whatever excuse you want, but the point is
what in the heck did I just walk into?
How do we get TV ratings? Nobody has ever known how we get TV ratings, Nielsen ratings. What the fuck does that mean? But Gary don't want to ask questions on that because it fits his argument.
What argument are we having?
We need the empirical data. We need the numbers.
Odin, you dumb shit.
Entre tanto.
Sabes, amor, yo nunca te he olvidado. Te recuerdo en cada estrella siempre que aparece. Sabes, amor,
Pollo.
siempre te
Why the fuck do we care about helping companies that clearly fucking hate us?
Listen, you dumb cocksucker. This is not about giving Jeff Bezos more money.
Who fucking cares?
Shut the fuck up.
But do you have the numbers to support that? That's what I want to know.
Again,
Jesus fucking Christ.
Shut the fuck up.
I think
it's not a question. I don't fucking work there, dipshit. Odin.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Why is that fucking... God damn it.
At least you noticed it quickly, Gary. We were just going to wait and see how long it will take.
And I wouldn't expect anything more. Welcome to Friday Night Tights. Happy Friday 13th, everybody. It's also another big day that we're going to get into momentarily. You know everybody here, but I would like to introduce a guest that we haven't had on in quite a while, and we welcome him back, the great RMB.
Gary, it is my honor to be here. I want to thank you for inviting me on this sad day, that we remember. Those of us who remember, it was really cataclysmic, and I'm glad that we're here to remember it. So thank you.
It is. It's a very sad day. Hashtag never forget. Never forget. And we'll get into it. But first, we have to get into this show's sponsors while everybody's rolling in.
Great segue.
You like that?
Oh, boy, Gary.
This show... What's that?
I said, you'll never forget this sponsor.
Please clap.
No, I actually love your ad reads, Gary. So I'm
Thank you.
excited.
Robert, do you like to be naked?
always.
Oh, that's a good answer right now. In today's society, it's tough to be a man in a world dominated by overly masculine liberal women. That's just now how it's meant to be. Everywhere we look, it's gender neutral, this product, or made for her, that product. That is why we started a company that embodies the ethos of men's lives matter too, but not in the rings of power, that's for sure. With products that aren't designed to be gender neutral or used by people with pronouns or products or Rumble are designed and built for men by men, period. So if you struggle with reading, like I do, or with low energy, mood swings, or hair loss, or if you need to perform better at the gym or maybe in bed, right, Robert, and recover quicker after, throw out all your other garbage supplements and try animal organs. They are traditionally the most nutrient-rich supplements on the planet. Have you ever seen a morbidly obese hunter-gatherer? You have not. That's why, okay? But our bison organs are a step above. The grass-fed, non-vaccinated bison are a species where the weak are allowed to die and only the strongest survive. So here is our commitment to you from men who have real confidence in their products and other things. Try this today. And if you don't like it, fine, return it for a refund. Click the link in the bio or go to benaked.com/nerdrotic, code nerdrotic, and get 15% off. You get a discount to try our products and get hooked on the power of bison.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm in.
With a paper because he cannot read it on the screen for some reason. He needed a printout.
I'm old school, okay?
He asked them if they could fax it over, and they said, "What the fuck is your problem?"
Fax it. They mailed it. Are you kidding me? I got it from the mailman.
Well, some fax machine was going on before the show because we could all hear it.
Do you reckon they make bison organ jerky?
Ooh.
They make
The only
bison
question
jerky.
I
It
have,
tastes good.
the only question I have is if like the weak die and the strong survive, are we getting the dead ones? So are we getting the weak bison? or did they search out the strongest, most powerful bison?
No, the weak died. The weak died, and then they killed the strong ones, and that's how we get it. So,
yeah. I'm good with that. Then.
There you go.
That's all I wanted to know.
Our other sponsor today is Rumble. Yes, that's right, Rumble. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have bias. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked in governments like France, which nobody's watching us on Rumble in France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can do, get from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way to help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right of free speech. The only thing I'd fix there is community. Don't use that damn word. Fellowship, people, group, something else than community. I hate that word.
You could have just changed it yourself instead of blindly reading from the paper.
That's asking a lot, okay?
No.
Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code Nerdrotic when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium/Nerdrotic and use the promo code Nerdrotic. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. Cheers. Thanks, Rumble. Thanks, Be Naked.
Rumble. Shout out to the Rumble audience.
Shout out.
Yeah. Seems like it's growing every week too, regardless of whether we're up on the front page or not.
Yeah.
A lot of people watching us on Rumble.
Kind of crazy. I like that
Gary,
bonus
you got your pumpkins out already.
Dude, let me tell you how it goes in this house. September 1st is spooky season. That's how it goes. That's the law. We have our Halloween decorations already outside of our house. We have the ghosts. We have the graveyard. Melissa's adding to it every day. Yeah, we believe it's a 2-month season for us. November 1st, Christmas tree goes up. That's it. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. So, yes, we're going to talk about the Rings of Power, of course. The latest episode, bit of a slog. Some people are saying it's the best. If the best is most boring, horrific crap, sure. Okay, if that's what you mean by that. Also, we're going to talk about Harry Potter casting because Ryan and I are here. Big fans of J.K. Rowling and that book series. We're also going to discuss a Sony CEO coming out and saying Hollywood's kind of screwed right now, which is no surprise at all, considering what he brings up, and possibly get to a Venom trailer. Oh, and George, not Lucas, George R. Martin has made the news again because George tends to be a little open on his blogs once in a while. And it goes beyond I can't write wins a winner because we're fighting the rise of fascism. It's how much he's written on the wins a winner. Last year, he said he got pages done. That could be 2. That could be 1,000. I don't know. I'm guessing it's 2. I'm guessing
he
it's
also
2.
said the TV series were taking up all of his time. It's like, yeah, life's so tough to get somebody else to do all the work for you, and you may read it a bit and give notes.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the last 2 blog posts have been, I wish they'd consulted me more on House of the Dragon. And then the next one, my consulting on House of the Dragon's taking up so much of my time.
I know.
It's like he's just such a fucking bitch. Honestly, George R. R. Martin is just a fucking bitch at this point. The only thing people want from him is his fucking books. That is it. We don't care about 10,000 Ships animated series.
No.
We don't care about the fucking Corlys Velaryon fucking thing you're doing. We want the books. It's great. If House of the Dragon is great, that's fantastic. And I think the first season was awesome. I think the second season was still really solid, step down. And Knights of the Seven Kingdom, I'm looking forward to that. I think that could be awesome.
Just wrapped up today. Wrapped filming today.
George, just fucking lock yourself in your house so you don't die of COVID like a fat old bastard that you are, and get your fucking books done, or else everyone's gonna fucking hate you when you.
Well,
die.
that's going to be his legacy, right? Focus on the books and everything else is fine. And I understand why he feels the need to oversee the TV shows. It's because he's more interested in that. He doesn't. The fact of the matter is, at this point, get a ghostwriter and admit you can't finish. Because the alternative is you're not going to finish. He's not. If you go, I did the math once, and the count is minuscule on how many pages he had to write per year to get this thing done. It's supposed to be 1,700 manuscript pages, something around there. They might even have to split the book in 2. The problem is, if they split the book in 2, they did that last time, and it still took 5 years for him to re-edit the second part. Because Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons were one book. Then they took out, I think it's 13 chapters, maybe it's 11 or 13 chapters, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, out of A Dance with Dragons for Winds of Winter. So it already had a bunch of chapters.
Are these pages like courier font, double spaced?
No, it's his he writes on like a Commodore 64, some old word process. No, it's not even a computer. It's a word processor. And he only writes at his house. So he doesn't take a laptop. He doesn't do anything. So he's got to be at his house in the mood to write while he's doing all these other things. And I have sympathy for the man who really hit it big later in life. And it kind of took away his hunger. Then swallow your pride. He's let other people write books before, and I'll edit the book. Just get a ghostwriter.
And Gary, doesn't he have, it's not even the last book. No. Right? There's more books supposedly after Winds of Winter, yeah?
Yes.
There should be one more after Winds of Winter, yes. So this is the second to last book that we've been waiting on for 11 years.
It's interesting. He had a long career in television before Game of Thrones. There was a show in the 80s called Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
That starred Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton. And he was, I don't know if he was the creator of that or he was one of the writers.
He's one of the head writers for sure.
And before Game of Thrones, he wrote a great book about vampires on the Mississippi called Fever Dream. That's terrific. And the first episode, I think it was the first episode of the Canadian reboot of Outer Limits.
He worked on Twilight Zone in the 80s?
Well, he wrote for Twilight Zone in the 80s, but Sand Kings, which was an interesting, if you haven't seen that or read that short story, they even adapted it into a graphic novel.
Yes.
But he has a really long history of work. Armageddon Rag, a book called The Armageddon Rag, which is really worth checking out.
What he's not known for, no, you're not rambling because you're setting up something that makes sense. He is he tells morality tales. He really likes stories about hive minds. And what he isn't known for is happy endings. Like he is not known for, that's why he was like tailor-made for, writing the Twilight Zone. So taking on this epic fantasy, even though you're turning it on its ear and you're subverting things, ultimately you still have to end with a heroic story. It could still be bittersweet, but it still needs to be good conquering evil. And then of course and that's how it's going to end. It's going to be good conquering perceived evil, and then the good are going to fight each other at the end. That's not changing. That's how it's going to end. And we're never going to see it. And when you have a fantasy series that you put a number on, I'm going to make 7 books. That's your promise to the customer who has supported you all these years and bought your multiple printings, including me, of the same damn books. And yeah, I think you should feel, I know Neil Gaiman is a little bit of trouble right now. Neil Gaiman famously wrote the blog, George R. Martin is not your bitch. Technically, no. But I think he does owe the customer at least the truth. Okay? If he can't finish, just say you can't finish. Just say you can't finish, and most people will probably understand, right? But it's the constant promising and then going back. And we understand a writing style, but it's clear he's not into it. He just doesn't want to finish, and he can't finish. So just
Has it hit the point yet where people are like telling others not to read the books because they won't get finished? Because that's how I feel with Patrick Rothfuss and Name of the Wind. Like, great books. I would never recommend them to anyone because I don't think the story will ever finish. Because I don't see it as any point in starting.
Well, yeah, that's going to screw the publisher. It's going to screw, any fan who put years into this. I mean, they'll get over it. Okay. But also his legacy. His legacy will be George R. Martin had a big hit show that ended badly and never finished his books. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. That's it.
And it's important to note for people that are actually into the series, it's not just Winds of Winter. It's Blood and Fire, the sequel to Fire and Blood. It's the last 2 books in the Dunk and Egg series.
Yep.
It's it's more than just the last 2 in the official Song of Ice and Fire book series. So ultimately, I think you're right, Gary. Does this person are we owed this from him? You can make these arguments back and forth. I kind of think you are at least some point, but I think you're 100% right. We are at least owed a definitive answer from him instead of just sitting there waiting, going on a decade and a half of waiting for the second to last book. He just needs to come out and say, I can't do this. Even if he doesn't allow anyone to fucking finish them. He owes an actual real explanation to the fans who have supported him for years and years and years before this thing was a big hit TV show and everybody got interested because of that. The people who started reading in the 90s and got invested in this story. Because the first one was
a loveless marriage that he doesn't want to break up.
I mean, that's a good analogy, Chrissy. I mean,
either break up or fuck me, one or the other. Let's do this.
Let's do something. Fight.
Right.
I don't know. Punch me in the back of the head.
I'm sure he does have a sense of obligation, and I'm sure it does tear at him, but it's still not making him faster or fatter.
Right, faster.
If we take that analogy through to its end, Gary's at a point where he's happy with someone else to do him as long as George is in the room and him watch.
Don't mind.
Hey, it might be a younger, hotter version. You never know. So he's been going out there making some noise, and it's there was an article that came up talking about Rings of Power and House of Dragon and how they're in trouble right now. And this is Garrett, if you can find it, I think it was a Hollywood Reporter. And it leads into the Rings of Power, and Robert, this should be the golden age of fantasy, dude. That we've got the 100%. Money, we've got the ability. Fantasy is tailor made for prestige television. Game of Thrones broke ground on that. We thought, oh my God, we're going to get a Conan show and a Red Sonja show and an Elric show. And we'll get all these, all this stuff. And Robert Jordan will get Wheel of Time. Sorry, Disparu.
14 books. You could have literally got 14 years of 24 episodic television out of that. All you had to do is do it properly. Oh, could have printed money.
Gold mined.
Yeah.
We should, though. It should be the epic age. I mean, the technology exists to create anything. Unfortunately, our favorite fantasy novels aren't exactly politically correct.
Yeah, that's man, that is true. And instead of making them accurately and going, hey, this is a make-believe story, and we're going to stay accurate to it because there's a built-in fan base that we really want to bring along, because those built-in fan bases act as shepherds to new fans. They bring new fans in. That's what made we saw that argument in the intro. Game of Thrones would not have been as big of a success if it was just binged, if it was drop all at once. It was a weekly model, and it built.
Where's Jeremy?
It built over no, and then a lot of there was watch parties and families, and I was the guy, and I'm sure everybody had a book guy there. You had a book guy there filling in some blanks for the normies who were getting in. Then they started reading the books, and the book sales went up, and it just helps. And they stayed true to the book until they didn't, because they ran out of material. But that should be your roadmap, and everybody does the wrong thing immediately. Hey, let's piss off the fans. Why is there a need to fill Tolkien with modernity? Why? It's not a good business decision. To start out with, it's just like, hey, let's make, Rings of Power, this show we're going to make. We want to bring in all those Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings fans. We want to bring in the book fans that have been around for decades. But Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings made more fans because it was spiritually in line with Tolkien. Even I know Christopher hated it. I know why Christopher hated it. And I don't think Tolkien would have liked it, but it got a lot of people to read his books, and a lot of the fans believe, hey, it was in the spirit of it. And that's your roadmap, and it's considered an anomaly, like a one-off, like lightning in a bottle. It shouldn't be. They just honored Tolkien's messages. They honored the book. So now we have two big fantasy shows. One's a complete flop. I don't care how they spin it. You spend $1 billion and get beat in your home country by a dude on a fucking tractor. That's bad.
Sexiest man in the UK twice running.
And honestly, I mean, in a totally not gay way, Jeremy Clarkson is the only thirst trap the world needs. Okay. That is a fact.
He's peak performance, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise.
Yep.
Why are you gay? Especially, you spend $700 million on that first season when you combine it with the $250 they had to pay for the rights. The reports are that the second season cost more than the first season in terms of just actual budget for the season itself. So maybe around $500 million plus.
Yep.
Just for season 2. So you're spending significantly more than any other television show out there. If you want to talk about House of the Dragon as competition, House of the Dragon costs about $200 million per season. You are spending significantly more than that on Rings of Power. And all you can get is, well, it's the top show in the world on our streaming service. Congratulations. Holy fuck. That is the bare minimum. They're effectively getting the same amount of views as something like The Boys, which you can argue to the end of the day about how the quality of The Boys from season 1 to season 4 and stuff like that. But that's a show that costs between $80 and $100 million per season. That's a much better bang for your buck. That's actually something you can do long term. You can't spend 5 times that and only end up with the same result and expect a profitable business model.
It's essentially the Joe Biden experience, where it's like, you did it, man. You came out at this time and you had the best performing show at this time when no other shows are coming out. You did it, Rings of Power. Good job. It's
you answered all the questions.
Exactly.
I promise you, the Grand Tour is crushing it right now.
Yeah,
it's not the top streaming show in the world. That's the reason they said the number one show on Prime Video.
Yep.
Yes,
multiple Netflix shows are out, not even big ones. Like some random thing you've never heard of. Season 3 on Netflix is outdrawing Rings of Power.
Yep,
that's just the reality.
Yep. So
Prime has a lot of subs, by the way. Prime Video has a
ton of subs, but we don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert. You might know. There's never been a differentiation between Prime Video customers who automatically get Prime Video, like the Prime customers who automatically get Prime Video, and actual Prime Video customers. I don't think we've ever heard that.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think what is also missed is that Amazon and Apple, for instance, their primary business is not creating programming.
Yep.
Apple's trying to sell their products, and Amazon is basically selling you their shipping service. That's what Prime is. You know, you sign up for Prime, you get great shipping. They want you to buy their products. They having a streaming service is more of a lost leader for them. They want to get people to come in and buy Prime because it's like a gym membership. You have Prime. Some people don't use it very much, but they've still spent the money for the year and they get all the perks. But for Amazon, it's almost free money. So them spending money on shows, I mean, they have ungodly amounts of cash to do it, and they don't want to lose cash. People think that, they can spend as much as they want. At some point, someone's going to be like, hey, you've lost us a lot of money. And Rings of Power, make no mistake, is by far the most expensive entertainment property ever. I mean, the rights alone were $450 million just to get the rights to make the show before $1 was spent on production. And it is the economics on that show will never work. It doesn't matter if every human being on earth watched Rings of Power. There's no way you can justify how much it cost. Ever.
No, I don't think Rings of Power is bringing new people. I would argue it probably has an adverse effect. Not that people are getting rid of their Prime, because they're not. But I doubt Rings of Power is bringing anybody to Prime, which is essentially the only way it makes money. There's no real merchandise for it. It doesn't have a real cultural footprint, which doesn't matter all the time, because I understand James Cameron's Avatar will come out, make $1 gazillion, and nobody will ever talk about it. But like, there's no cosplay at cons. You don't feel the chitter chat. The only talk is how much it sucks, and there's no theories being broke down. You want to see a healthy show? House of the Dragon. We see memes, positive. When you see positive memes for a show, and positive is still clowning the show, but in a positive manner, it's all over the place.
You know, it is in line with Amazon making Rings of Power, because you could call Rings of Power a shipping service too.
Yes. And that's the thing, like, that you can have shows that get massive success without having as big of this cultural footprint. You see Netflix do it all the time, one, because they have a massive subscriber base and a lot of different varieties of people that tune in for different shit that can make these things successful. But even on Amazon's own service, something like Reacher doesn't have near the cultural footprint, or isn't talked about near as much as some of these other majorly successful shows, but it's a little bit different audience that's tuning in.
Yeah.
It's typically people that are a little bit older and aren't tweeting about what fucking romance they want to see next time on Reacher. It's just people that are tuning in, enjoying the show, turning it off and going to sleep and coming back for it next week. But that outpulled Rings of Power. That didn't cost nearly as much to make as this show did.
What the Variety article said when it announced the 40 million things, it quoted a source within Amazon and told them that basically they were downplaying the cost of everything. Like, before the first season, they wanted that billion number to be out there, and now they're downplaying it. They said 250 million for the rights and 150 to 200, I think it was, for each series. So they definitely want it down there. We've also know from previous things, it's not just the costs for Amazon Prime. Amazon know that if you buy Amazon Prime, you will spend more than somebody that doesn't have Amazon Prime.
Right.
So it depends how they start messing with the numbers, right? They could take all that extra profit from a sign up and just add that to the cost of Rings of Power and go, well, that's why we got that money, so it pays for itself. Because they've said in the same Variety article they want people to go through all of their things, so it is a loss leader. But I think around season 1 they said if you watch Rings of Power, the next time you buy something on Amazon or the next time you subscribe, that gets counted towards Rings of Power, whether you would have done it anyway or whether you were already subscribed. So they can really mess with the numbers, and I know they're an analytics company, but if you just get all this stuff and attach it to it, you can come away thinking this is an incredibly popular and a very profitable series just by accident, right? Because we're going to spend all that money anyway.
And we'll get this and maybe back to the other article, but thanks for pulling this up. The question I have is, and I think I know the answer, it's semi-rhetorical, but they're lying to themselves. So it's divisions within the corporations boosting the numbers and like maybe not outright lying, but maybe just manipulating them to make them look as positive as possible to the executives who don't fucking pay attention at all. And they are convinced they are convinced they have a hit when they actually don't. Because they're not on the ground floor. They're not watching any of these shows. I doubt any of these bankers. I doubt Jeff Bezos is sitting down watching an episode of Rings of Power. Are you freaking kidding me? You get bored in 5 minutes and go like jump on his dick rocket. Yeah. But or go work on his clock in the middle. Do you know about this, Robert? He's building a cuckoo clock in the
mountains.
In the mountains of here in Texas. That clicks once a year and like it's and the cuckoo will come out or an alarm goes off once a millennia.
Yeah, it's a very wacky. I mean, I think it's pretty fascinating. I mean, I want to know how it works, from an engineering standpoint. But why?
$42 million.
Is he building the new Stonehenge for generations, 1,000 years from now?
I think it's a Dr. Evil base. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, it does resemble the Spectre's base from the Bond film You Only Live Twice. The volcanic mountain. Is he going to start stealing Chinese spaceships and bringing them down and hiding them?
God, I hope so.
That'd be actually kind of
that
cool.
would actually
climb to the top of the volcano and rappel down.
Like,
that one.
Whether it's that or spending the $1 billion allegedly on the show, I think it just all comes down to his.
He spent $1 billion.
He's got to feed his ego.
It's already been $1 billion because of their move from New Zealand to the UK. Cost them a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
but it was to save money. Yeah.
That was one of the things that they talked about in that first season. We know it's really expensive, but hey, we're building all these things in New Zealand here, and we're going to be able to reuse all these sets, and it's going to be long-term better. And then what do? They say, yeah, fuck that. Let's do everything new, brand new in the UK. And then rebuild all the sets. Lightning strikes, horses die. I don't know how much money
they cut down. I love that they cut down trees for a show adapting Tolkien.
That. Oh my gosh.
In his home country.
A dumb question. Where does the money to make these shows come from? Just Amazon subscribers?
Amazon's the top 3 richest company in the world. It has a bunch of cash reserves, just like Apple. Robert was talking about this is a vanity project, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people think that studios have a vault full of money underneath their corporate offices, and that isn't true. I mean, a company like Warner Brothers has to borrow money from a bank in order to finance, say, the next film that they're making. So they're immediately incurring interest payments, and it's a big problem. And they also charge their studio overhead to the film's budgets that they're making, whereas Amazon and Apple have a completely different business model, and their financial concerns they really don't have any financial concerns that's not true, but everybody cares where money goes at some point, but they don't have nearly the kind of pressures that streaming shows, whether they come from Paramount, whether they come from Warner Brothers, Sony, Fox, Disney, have. And so the economics for Amazon and Apple that's why Apple can spend $250 million making Napoleon or Killers of the Flower Moon or whatever. They don't really have to worry about the same economics as a studio.
Nope.
It's a little side project. They're not entertainment companies.
Yep.
Right.
And
this is a side
that's why,
hustle.
and what Robert brought up about, these the investors and them getting loans and having to pay the interest. That's why even things as simple as not getting a movie done on time and maybe having to delay it 6, 8, 9 months or a year, those have big ramifications.
It's devastating.
These companies are looking at the bottom lines, and you realize that interest that you're paying, if you have to delay this by a year, that's just that much less money that you might be able to take back to the studio after you're done paying out all these different sums.
Yep.
And another problem too, as you just alluded to, is that when they went over to a streaming model, the only revenue that a streaming show brings in is subscribers. So it used to be that a network or an HBO would make a show, but then they could sell it on a territory by territory basis around the world. So let's say you have a network show like, I don't know, House, the show House, the Dr. House show.
Great show.
So they would make that show and they would deficit spend. Like TV shows don't really get profitable until 2 or 3 or even 4 seasons down the road. But if a show makes it that far, what they do is they license that show out on a country by country basis. So the Italians will buy it, the Germans will buy it, the French will buy it. It'll go to Asia. And that's when you make real money. And that's why Netflix, for instance, paid $100 million to run Friends for just the 2029 TV or the 2019 season. They bought it for 1 year for $100 million. And that was just found money that they just distributed amongst the owners of the show. So TV used to be hugely profitable if it was a successful show. Now these streaming shows, once they're worldwide. So Netflix doesn't make any money on their streaming shows. They're starting to use ad-based. They've got ad tiers now, but before Disney Plus, they spent $250 million on a Marvel show. That's just gone. It's just their subscribers then have to pay for everything that's on the platform, because people might sign up and pay $15 a month, but that has to get spread out over all the shows they're making. And the studios have been the streaming has made it very unprofitable compared to the way it used to be. And that's why the streaming model has run into, that's why Paramount's in as much trouble as it's in. And that's why Sony decided not to do a streaming platform, because they make their stuff and they license it out still.
And they can still make that money. Like, streaming destroyed the industry because they cut off network television, linear television. They cut it off by the balls when everybody went streaming. And like you brought up, Robert, all these, when we see these lines from, the deadline report of profitability for Thor: Love and Thunder, and in Disney's and in their own like internal thing, they claim that, well, it might not have made money at the box office, but when you add in the $120 or $150 million that we're making it by licensing it to ourselves, then it was a profitable movie. No, that's not. You take the money from one pocket and put it into the other, and it might be different for the people that are involved with it. But when it comes to the bottom line, it's a much different story. You're not getting that from Netflix anymore. You're getting that from yourself.
Well, Gary's been going through the X-Files, and if you go back into the aughts, Chris Carter, Fox was dealing to itself with something like the X-Files, and it was putting it, the licensing fees it was paying to itself. It would license it out to a Fox-owned company, and Chris Carter it was a lawsuit. Chris Carter said, "Look, I'm getting, my profits are being taken away because you guys are double dealing to yourselves." And so for the X-Files, and
I remember that.
Yeah, it's just wild to watch the industry, and because it's run by different concerns. If you're looking at Wall Street, they want their quarterly profits, and the way that those business models work with infinite expansion and growth, that's not how the entertainment industry works.
No.
And they're trying to play this Wall Street game, and Wall Street doesn't care. Their economics are very different from the economics of the entertainment business, and it's really destroyed. I mean, everybody's in turmoil now because of chasing money that doesn't really exist.
No, it's with watching the X-Files, I've been going through, and I was watching it when it came on the air, and I've watched it, but I haven't done a watch through in a long time, and I just going back through episodes, and I'll hit the Wikipedia, right, and see like, how many episodes was this season? 25. It premiered on September 10th, 1993 and ended sometime in May. So weekly, Jeremy, you were with Fox. You were with Scully and Mulder. I want to say Fox, but Scully and Mulder for half a year. You're watching their adventures weekly for a half of a year. Then they take a few months off. Then they're back for another half a year. And if TV hadn't broken its model, X-Files would still be making tons of money in syndication. But instead, it's languishing on streaming. It's never going to get remastered. Same with Buffy. We're going to get these shitty versions forever because it's just not worth it until AI comes along probably and does the remastering, and it'll look like shit. But it's not profitable anymore, and it's just dumped. And what it made a TV show, it made everything disposable. It made everything. Same thing happened to any time streaming hits anything. And we use the term streaming, but remember happened to the music industry. Once you could start downloading whatever song you want, started making all that disposable. You stopped getting albums. You get singles. Taylor Swift gets the top 10 songs in America, all 1 through 10, and it just, music's not important anymore, and it used to be a more important form of art to at least young people than movies or TV shows. When I was growing up, like music was it. Yeah. Everybody wanted to be a rock star. So, that's
less
changing.
To do then, though. Like the internet allowed you to have access to everything. So I think that attention will be spread out.
That's
But
why we
also
got
you
high
found-
on drugs like normal people, you know?
But there was like piracy took off and then it died. Like music piracy is in the can now just because Spotify and everything are so popular, so cheap, and you can get everything on them that people subscribe, like Spotify or Apple Music and stuff. It might. I still don't know why actors are getting paid $40 million for a movie. Like, if you want to cut budgets, if you want to cut budgets, that's
They have a lot of
massive chunk
expenses.
of the budget you can do. And there will come a time where it's like, well, it's just not financially viable for us to do this. And if they all just did it,
well, the
actor's
Wolves
gonna do, you know?
with
they still work for $2 million.
the not movie star George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Isn't that going to Apple? They made a big
they were
deal
going to
about
give it a big theatrical release, and it's going to get 1 week of theatrical, then go right over to Apple.
Yep, big movie star
Which
George
is-
Clooney.
I mean, again, all content has been devalued. You guys you brought up Spotify. You know what's really terrifying is that Spotify can now themselves generate their own AI music, whatever, and put it on their own platform. You know, here they are to pay other artists and all that, but now they'll generate AI music. They'll put on their own platform, and it competes with the same streams that mainstream real artists are competing for, the same money. So Spotify can make all kinds of AI music and pay themselves, and it's all profit that's being taken away from real artists that are going to be on the platform. And that's going to be a huge problem in the years to come.
That'll be interesting. And you can't unmake the soup on that one. Speaking of, you can't unmake the soup, to the Rings of Power. Were you going to say something, Shad? Real quick before we...
AI, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, God. Okay, Rings of Power.
Spotify is going to be screwed too because people will just be able to make their own music. They won't need to rely on Spotify.
Well, you can. I mean, like, there's a bunch of programs now where you can, with Fruity Loops. I remember Fruity Loops back in the day. I was making my own, like, little techno music just for fun.
Yeah.
Yes, Rings of Power, episode 5, freaking boring. Thankfully, it didn't have female Sam, female Frodo, Dan Galf, Tom Grumadil. They were all missing from this episode. But we did get telenovela Numenor, which is just, that is the, outside of the character assassination of Sauron and Galadriel, what they've done to Numenor, dude, Numenor, it would take 20 episode seasons over a decade to tell the proper story of Numenor, and it'd be worth it because it's fucking epic. It's great.
It could be Game of Thrones to the moon,
Hell
like,
yeah.
with the political machinations and stuff like that. Yet with what we have now, it's so tedious. I want it to sink into the ocean right now. This episode made me question my life decisions. I'm not kidding. It was so friggin' hard to get through. I was just like, I'm not sure I can do it. This is... I had shell shock afterwards. It was like I just experienced war. And I was just like, what was that? Where is my
boring.
life?
It was dark. I was like, why are we in the dark the whole time? We're in the dark. I can't see anything. I kept trying to explain to the baby the show. He kept sleeping. He's like, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen.
I have a pretty good projector, right? And I still, like, it's difficult to see in the dark. I mean, I don't have like a $20,000 one because that'd be stupid. But I have a decent one. And you still can't see anything. You see it a little better on like a TV than you do on a projector, but you can't see crap. But that's helpful because if you actually saw what was happening on the screen, your brain would be assaulted more.
The Numenor stuff is just awful.
It's terrible, dude.
It's so retarded.
It's also sad because in that one moment where you have the death of this character, it's being played as this hugely like emotional moment, but then all you can think of is, wow, I just don't care about this person
he got what
at
he
all.
deserved. Yeah, that
exactly.
guy...
You're just like, I don't care at all that this happened to this person.
I forgot his name.
So much
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know his name.
Valindil,
Valindil, yeah. If it wasn't for the closed captions during my watch party, I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy?
Even the last episode,
all while Elendil is being like barely held back by like one fucking guard who's not even
by
trying.
Target security. Yeah.
Hey, he's like, hold me back, bro. Hold me back, bro. Like that was the vibe that had.
Dude, and like canonically, Elendil's 8 feet tall and could make very short work of everybody in that room with one hand tied behind his back. But no, that's the show. Like all Numenorians are supposed to be peak human.
If somebody spent the last 5 minutes drowning you right next to where you're standing, and then you finally win the fight and go, I'm sure he's not going to do anything to me now.
I know.
You are asking for it. I don't even know what the other guy was saying.
Let me just put this sword down right here.
You've watched the fight.
Yeah, and they made that son guy who is the most comical mustache twirling villain now. Is just being an arsehole for the sake of being an arsehole. I couldn't stand it, right? And then when he lets him live, I'm like, okay, he's just gonna turn around and kill you now. It's so, and of course that's exactly.
Oh, Arfadazon's son. Okay, Arfadazon's
son.
Yeah.
That retard. And it's like, oh, you want this sacred statue? Drop. It's like, come off it.
No, that was fine because he give it to him, boy. Well, of course he's going to smash it. Like, if you're in the weaker position asking somebody for a favor, don't wind him up by calling them boy and start demanding things. Obviously, he's going to smash
Well, this is after Muriel, the whole Muriel thing. For one, she gets, the throne is usurped from her. She's forced into marriage to her cousin, Ar-Pharazôn, which is even against the rules of Numenor. Like, you can't marry first cousins. We're going to draw the line at first cousins. But it doesn't matter. That's they decided
rules with that in Tolkien's world. Not not like
in not like in Game of Thrones.
They're related because they don't look.
Yes,
related.
they're cousins. I know. I can't say distant cousins because they're supposed to be first cousins. But whatever.
Spaceballs relationship.
But I promise you, Robert was talking about political correctness. They didn't want to put this in from the canon, because it would remove Muriel's agency. That was their motivation. And when you're going into a story and you're adapting a story that has been meticulously put together for decades, even though a lot of the stuff I'm bringing up and a lot of stuff that people bring up on the internet, on Twitter mostly, to justify the show, Amazon doesn't have the rights to. They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. They just don't.
It's so fucking stupid, though, right? Like, if you hate men as much as the show and the showrunners clearly do, wouldn't you want to put that in there, showing that, hey, if the throne had passed on to Muriel, that maybe she would have been the right type of leader for the situation, but instead Ar-Pharazôn, this evil fucking dude, forced her into a marriage, usurped her. Wouldn't that play right into your bullshit idea of the way that you think the world works and how oppressed women are? But no, you can't even do that. You have to, because we can't show a woman looking that weak. That wouldn't be acceptable. That wouldn't be okay.
Unless it's a made-up character who's an apprentice to Celebrimbor.
The thing is, whenever they try this and they go, oh, we can't do that because of the agency, well, they also make them look like an idiot. They made Galadriel look like an idiot when she's bragging to them and then immediately gets pulled off the horse. And Muriel is one of the worst queens I've ever seen. She gets literally ousted by a guy because she couldn't be bothered to walk across a room.
Because an eagle landed next to him.
Well, yeah, but she didn't say anything throughout the entire scene.
And she still hasn't. She's accepted her fate.
But it makes all of Numenor look like retards, because that eagle landing at the coronation could have easily been interpreted that was a validation of her, and this idiot just walks up to her. But everyone thinks, oh, because he walked to the eagle, that means it's him.
Did anything? I would have thought at best, they're going, well, he took action. He's the leader. He's who if out of the two of them, I'd want him as my leader, because when a situation occurred, he had the brains to actually take advantage of it. And she just stood there like a mop, just going, oh no, I can't move anywhere. So
she's also blind, but yeah.
But she can still move. She has people with her. For some reason, the guards wouldn't even let a guy through or anything. But you can speak. She couldn't even be bothered. Everything around it, I think it's trying to be smart and political, and none of it comes across. I wanted the Harfoots back, because bad is better than boring. And I could at least enjoy the Harfoots like flying off in a tornado.
And
just to emphasize the retarded politics, right?
Jumping off a cliff.
That conflict in the temple was justified because they need to build an aqueduct right near the seashore in a location where an aqueduct wouldn't be passing over. And it's like, hang on, the writers, they need a conflict, okay? And the conflict is related to this temple that's on the seashore. There's a really easy justification for it actually building up to the lore, is that Ar-Pharazôn wants to build a new fleet. He needs a new dock. And that's the answer there.
So but they're in that temple and they're lighting candles on shells. Do you remember to who?
Was it the sun?
Isildur, right?
To Isildur?
Is it Isildur? Is it Palantir? I honestly didn't know. I had no idea who they were writing candles. I'm all, somebody died. I don't know who it was.
I feel like it was multiple people.
I thought it was everyone. It was everyone that they had lost. That's what I.
And so they focus on the Isildur with that character. Who's the father.
Okay.
And then because they think they're really
who's
smart,
not dead, canonically should not be in the Southlands running around with to ship with some chick hanging around with Don Lemonless. No, he should be on Numenor.
Also, like a dumb bitch too. Isildur's sister, who is a made-up character for this. Wait, maybe she was just unnamed.
She is completely an Amazon original character.
Okay, yeah. And like now we're like, okay, they put her in, and she ends up screwing everything up for everyone. And I'm sure nothing's going to be her fault. She was just doing what she thought was right. She was just standing up for what she thought was okay, and there will be no like actual ramifications for her. But she's been the cause of all of this stuff, revealing the plans here and everything.
Yep. So, and that's and they, of course, they repurposed a line of dialogue. Far Green Country.
Would not play. It wouldn't play out this way. It's like, okay, they need it gone because it's going to be a construction site. It's like they would have a notice. I was like, no, what's the like stupidest and most evil way we can do it? Right in the middle of one of their sermons or process or whatever. It's like, nah, screw you all. We're going to demolish it now. It's in the middle of the night. What, you can't just let them finish their little, thing? But no, because
he has to deliberately to get them to do something like punch them so they can just arrest them. I think that was the plan.
Yeah.
So throughout this episode,
it's like mustache villain.
And Numenor has been reduced to like a C plot in this telenovela. Like it is not important. You can cut out all the Numenor stuff and it wouldn't make a difference in the show. And you could probably cut out the whole show, to be honest with you. But I'll try to be kind. You can cut all this stuff out. And the rest of the episode is Anatar arguing with Grandma Brimbor over rings for men. It's pretty bad, and it plays out like a soap opera. And Grandma Brimbor is a fucking idiot in this. He's a complete idiot.
Unbelievable. Like their logic, and by the way, they stretch it out. That takes them ages to get to this point. But it's like, the dwarven rings might be bad because we made them into seats.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that bit, though. If it was if your will and intention goes into the rings, and he's like, "Are you messing with it?" He's like, "No,
we
did.
We did."
Like that line.
That was one of the only clever
things.
Afterwards
was awful. I'm like, what
exactly.
Did you do?
It's what they choose to do with it. It's like, okay, how do we fix it? We could confess it, or what about this? This is the big brain moment.
Yeah.
What if we make
more?
Under even more deceit. Yeah.
It's like it's like gain of function in Region. We'll just accuse everybody. We'll do a misinformation campaign. We'll accuse everybody of not believing the smithing. They're anti-smithing, and we'll just forge ahead.
And I'm sorry, right? If you go into the unseen realm and you see like this fiery guy who stinks of death, and rather than the guy you've been working with, you've apprenticed under him, and is just a normal elf, and someone goes, no, that's Celebrimbor. I'm not staying in that room if I know that Celebrimbor is this fiery guy walking around that stinks of death, and I'm also not going to tell, the new guy, which turned up last week, who is now telling me, oh no, it's definitely your trusted friend who's the evil one out of the two of us.
But what if he told you that he thinks you're hot just like Galadriel?
Yeah.
That's
what his, okay, so, Anatar is supposed to be incredibly charming. And even though at first Gil-galad and Galadriel canonically like mistrust him, they just mistrust him. They don't think he's evil. They think there's something off about him, but he's still really charming to everybody else. And he makes it, Sauron makes a decision, hey, I can see that Galadriel mistrusts me. I'm going to be extra charming to her and kind to her and graceful. And no, what Ryan just pointed out, he just goes, oh, but you look nice in that gown. And all of a sudden everybody's cool with them. It's like, never mind this forked tail and my giant horns and that I smell like sulfur. I gave you a compliment on your looks.
A compliment goes a long way.
I was going to say, listen, have you met women before? I could see this happening.
Well, that's the point. Everyone that made this, all the women on the show, the
I met
female
a couple.
director and everyone, all made this and thought, no, that makes sense. Yeah, if I was in that situation, that's what I'd do.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's really dumb. And they're doing the rings out of order, and they're doing it in the order of the poem. right? So the poem mentions the elven rings first, then the dwarven rings, then the rings for men. That's
not the order they actually made them in.
That's not the actual order they made them in, but they're doing them in the order of the poem. I had
it's
that.
It's not thrice perfected, because we made 3 rings, then we made them 3 times, and 3 times 3 is 9, which makes them even better.
I know, dude.
Because Sauron didn't even know about the 3 elven rings until he put on the ring, right? And that, at least that's the way I interpret it.
So Sauron doesn't get the other rings are around, okay, because they're made first, and then the 3 elven rings are made in private, just Celebrimbor. And when Sauron sacks Region, and afterwards he gets the rings and then gives them to. So they're doing it out of order. He gives them to the dwarves and he gives them to men, right? And they all have different effects on each races. Men are far more susceptible to rings because they're mortal. Dwarves a little tougher. And there's the question of I can't even remember her name, Modernity, whatever her name is. Another complete Amazon creation here. High King Feanor Alpha Chad on Twitter pointed this out. I believe him that they kind of lifted this plot from Lord of the Rings Online, where Sauron had an apprentice that created a ring outside of the 19. I don't know. I didn't play the game on her own, and she's invisible. And that's been a conversation forever. It's like, would the one ring, if Sauron's one ring was put on an elf, would that elf become invisible? And it's hotly debated. And I think it just depends on the elf, really. I think certain elves
doesn't
know.
It amplify your natural talents? So hobbits are good at hiding, which is why it turns them invisible. Is what I thought.
I mean, the elven rings, they can make invisible on their fingers. They can make the rings invisible, but it doesn't affect them because they're completely different. It doesn't affect the dwarves because they're completely different. So she's invisible, whatever. There's tools floating around, and if they did lift that from Lord of the Rings Online, that wouldn't be the first. Robert, a little familiar with the thing called Star Trek Discovery. So we have disciples from J.J. Abrams, and Alex Kurtzman lifted multiple things for that show, including Mass Effect and other shows, Star Trek itself,
Interstellar.
Yeah, dude.
Ursula K. Le Guin's short story, Those Who Walk Away from Umlost, they ripped off for Strange New Worlds. And Alex Kurtzman flat out said, oh yeah, we took those ideas from Ursula K. Le Guin. There's no accreditation on the episode, nothing. In classic Star Trek, if there was even a hint, and there was in one story called Arena, where they introduced the Gorn, that was Gene Kuhn, who wrote it, might have been influenced by Frederick Brown's short story called Arena. And when they looked into that, they decided to give him credit on the episode itself. It's easy to credit people, especially if they're already dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard. And yet so much of our modern fantasy from these writers is being taken from other things. To the point, there's a great channel, Major Grin.
Yes.
Who's been going after people, all the Star Trek
Brilliant
writers,
channel.
just showing you where they took things from. And I think it's problematic in that there are so many fantasy tropes that they're drawing on from Rings of Power that diminish the overall effect of the show. And I think that's what's really disappointing about it, is because they couldn't get the rights to the Silmarillion, they're falling back onto fantasy tropes, and not well.
Yeah,
you don't believe the stories that are being told. The characters don't behave like they would normally behave. And if they need people to be dumb and not see what's right in front of them, they revert back and they do that. And it's frustrating because their audience, the audience of these stories is so much, we're way ahead of the writers here. You've got to be, I'm not saying everything has to be written like Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad. I mean, that's an incredible caliber of writing, or even episodes of The Sopranos, but this writing is, again, all these modern fantasy writers and science fiction writers were all influenced by Buffy and Angel. I'm convinced of this.
Yes.
And they want to write all the relationships. They want to write as it's a Buffy or an Angel episode. And there's no reality, like what we were talking about earlier about Numenor. Numenor could be the most fascinating part of this show, but we don't have as many wizards and hobbits and dwarves and whatever. So let's stay away from that. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah, they don't have the talent to write good politics, like comparing Numenor to the politics in House of the Dragon is it will give you a whiplash. It's such a contrast.
Oh,
and
especially season 1 of House of the Dragon.
I mean, it's imitation without creativity. These people making the show don't have talent because a lot of fantasy is imitating so many things and they take inspiration from so many things. Wheel of Time is brilliant and there's a lot of inspiration in that from Lord of the Rings and many other things. Because an actual creative writer is going to be inspired by things and kind of like, I like that. And so Wheel of Time, they have the Mountains of Mist, which is a reference to the Misty Mountains. And there are like these little nods where a writer actually wants people to know, yeah, I was inspired by this. So I'm actually going to put something in to kind of just indicate that. But with talentless writers like this, all they can do is copy, and then they don't know why it worked in the original thing.
Right.
So it's forced in, and it's dog crap.
They're doing whatever, they being JD Payne and Patrick McKay, and recently JD Payne came out and said, hey, trolls are welcome on this journey, which is a big change from the fans being abjectly evil. Big change in attitude. But that's because...
And also, if you don't like the show, you're just a troll, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you're one of those people out there that don't like what we're doing, you know, like 63% of people who didn't stay around for the finale and now over half of your viewers who have left, well, you're just a troll, obviously. It can't be that you genuinely dislike this show or think we're doing something wrong. You're just a troll, but don't worry. We welcome our haters,
This
too.
is such a different fandom than any other as far as lore is concerned. I mean, there's people, there's actual scholars. Some are shills, some aren't. And just regular fans who dive into this stuff for decades. Before I was born, long before I was born. The damn hippies brought Lord of the Rings back. You know, they're the ones who brought Lord of the Rings. Tolkien famously didn't like them, but they brought Lord of the Rings back. And you know, Led Zeppelin was writing in their songs. So this has been around a long fucking time, and these debates have been going on a long time. And these guys come in and they think they can take it on, and it was a rout, and it remains a rout. And listen, there's with Disa, there is a scene in this episode where she drops a ball in Moria. So she's in a market in Moria. It's crowded. She drops a crystal ball down a hallway that's like 10 feet away from a busy market that apparently no dwarf has discovered in thousands of years, and sings to find the ball, and wakes up the Balrog.
Like that ball must have rolled down an insane amount of stairs and hallways and everything.
It's like Mousetrap again.
That alone, that walk alone would have burned off all that baby weight from Disa.
Listen,
okay.
Good thing the Balrog is a slow riser. It's only 4,000 years from that time where it actually, wakes up. But in this show, it'll probably be a week. I don't fucking know.
I think Disa's going to fight it. I think she's going to sing it. Like sing against it.
Well, listening to her sing made me want to kill myself. So maybe that's a strategy.
The sad part is I think we all want to like this show.
Yeah.
Like what people don't understand, I think, about modern fandom, even us old school fans that get completely discounted. Like, I'm an old white guy shouting at clouds, so Star Trek isn't made for me anymore. But the thing is, I want to like it. And it's so maddening to have liked something for so long and then watch people come along that clearly are not equipped to deliver what they should be delivering. And they're letting down Amazon. They're letting down the audience. They're letting down everyone.
Everybody. And the big difference is, Robert, we live in an era where stuff doesn't get canceled. That's why The Acolyte was that was a bit of a shocker that it got outright canceled, because we got 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, and they're going to I promise you they'll commit to 5 seasons of this show, and fine, go right ahead. The result will be the same. But, it wasn't just a decade ago where stuff like this would get canceled. Think about all this. Daredevil was canceled. I know the reasons behind it, but the fact that Daredevil was canceled, a show that had 3 banger seasons, is insane. A great show called Counterpart with a great concept with J.K. Simmons.
Great show.
Fucking great show. Got canceled. Sarah Connor Chronicles got canceled and unfinished. We had all these, we could go back, and now we get like just garbage, and they keep going because they don't want to look bad to their investors. Because of their politically correct and message-based casting, they're afraid to cancel stuff. look what happened to the Acolyte. Look who's mad at Disney. It's not us. It's not us. I said it on my stream. I said something I never thought I'd say in the last 10 years. Disney was right. Disney was absolutely right to cancel this show.
I wish we would have got more of Human Target.
Human Target was good too. I liked it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Human Target was awesome. I will protect you by putting you in danger was just a great idea. I always remember one of the first scenes in that where it just introduces this little weenie guy in a restaurant, and they come over to threaten him, and he goes, "I'll take your beating because that's all you're allowed to do. But your boss keeps your information on a hard drive. He thinks it's safe. It isn't. And so when you're sleeping, I'll go in and I'll wipe you out. I'll wipe your family out. I'll wipe your children out." And they're just like petrified and leave. Best introduction to a character I've seen. But these shows used to be made by better people. And as such, they kind of write at their level, but they also think the audience is of their level. So Star Trek was made for a more intelligent audience. Lord of the Rings, and I would assume that novels in general have like a more intelligent audience. And so if you have dumber people make them, they dumb it down and nobody likes it anymore. So what you've got with this is that whole idea of the 3 rings being perfect and 9 is 3 times 3 and it's magnified. They only mentioned that in an offhand comment in season 1 that meant nothing. They just made it up on the spot. There's nothing in that's been in the series about 3 being this powerful number. But it's like Rebel Moon. The moment they mentioned wheat once, it suddenly became this massive plot point because a character had said it. And that's what happens. They amplify their own bad ideas.
And the meme was born.
Yeah, they amplify their own bad ideas, and by the time you're at the end of season 2, it's now a massive plot point. Just because I don't think they even remember where it came from. They just know 3 important. Therefore, if we do a maths equation with 3, it's even better.
Well, you know, there's Brandon Sanderson, who wrote the Wheel of Time books, has I mean, he's making making $40 million on Kickstarter crowdfunding novels. He has a great part on his blog. He has he talks about writing, how to write. And one of my favorite things that I would encourage anybody who's a fan of fantasy, science fiction, or any kind of world building genre, he has his 3 rules of magic systems. Mm-hmm. And whether you're a Harry Potter fan, these 3 rules of magic systems have more to say to writers about how to create your own fictional universes and why things work than just about anything you can see in Rings of Power. I'm like, guys, next time you get together, get your writer's room together, all of you spend, 10 minutes, 20 minutes reading Brandon Sanderson's Rules of Magic Systems, and it'll explain how to world build a fantasy land, because the people doing Rings of Power don't know how to do it. And it's frustrating to watch.
I actually don't think anyone could adapt Brandon Sanderson's work unless he writes it. Because he was talking in, I think it was a video I watched the other day, about wit, the character of wit, and that wit actually changes how he talks depending on who he's talking to. So you're essentially writing like multiple Kamala. Characters that all have to understand the other person, and they're all like really witty, intelligent kind of things. No one in Hollywood can do that. They can only write from their own perspective, and so writing somebody else that's then got to be multiple different people in different, it's way too many levels removed for them. It's just going to come down to they have to hire better people.
Yeah, they got rid. There's still people, and Robert knows this, there's still very good people in Hollywood who are not getting jobs based on how they look, period. Yeah. Which is, think about that. So in the name of progress, we have excluded a bunch of men and women based on how they look from getting a job who are much better than the people who are getting jobs. You know, we need to bring back meritocracy. It's
never acceptable to do that because of race or gender. Now, if someone's ugly, I agree they shouldn't get a job. Like, that's fine. I'm totally good with that type of discrimination. Yeah. Since Robert's here, when we look at the just onslaught of shit that has come out, specifically when we're talking about these streaming series and stuff, over the past year or two, one of the things that I think is one of the contributing factors is that television is not made the same way. You no longer have pilots that are done and then pitched everywhere to try to get it picked up. Instead, in the rush to get content for streaming services, they were just handing out $100-200 million checks to people, just go make a series without seeing a thing in the beginning. Is that one of the causes of all of this stuff that's going down?
Well, I think that's a really good point. So, what Ryan was saying, there used to be what was called pilot season. And all the networks would greenlight one episode. Everybody would make a pilot. And sometimes a network might greenlight 25 pilots. And I used to work at an entertainment ad agency where we would get these pilots and watch them all. I mean, it was a thing. People who were connected to the television industry would get pilots. I used to go to parties where people would watch these pilots to see which ones were best. And then the networks would look at which ones were best, and they would give it like a 13 episode order. So a series wouldn't get, when there were 26 episodes a season, they would order half a season. And if the show, to mitigate the risk, and if a show did well, they would order what was called the back half or the back 9 or however many episodes. So it was a performance-based system, really. And
I also imagine, just as a question, does that have the side effect of tightening up the script and the characters? Because we saw in Rings of Power season 1, they were like, oh, well, we spent the entire season getting to know the characters. But in a pilot, you'd have to force that into one episode.
Yes, so you do. Yes, 100%. And you'd have to, I mean, obviously network television, it was not based, we didn't have the myth arcs like X-Files. That was pioneering. X-Files kind of did that. So these were individual episodes where they'd have to mostly stand alone. And then of course we've seen these serialized storytelling has risen over the last 30 years. But also with these smaller shows, you greenlight a show because it's only 8 episodes. So no one's making a pilot for an 8 episode show. It's just easier to go ahead and greenlight a whole series. And you're greenlighting it like Leslie Headland. I mean, I liked Russian Doll, this show she did with Natasha Lyonne. I quite liked that first season. So I can understand why somebody like Leslie Headland, because television is a very tough nut to crack. It's very different than feature filmmaking. And it's almost like a different track. It's really hard to jump from independent cinema, for instance, and get into making television, because writers on TV start out as writers' apprentices. They're in writers' rooms. They work their way up. So television is really insular. So to get in there, there's only it's like anything else. There's the 10 top creators for TV, and then there's the people underneath that. And it's really a hard place to crack. But nowadays, yes, they will, if they like you, they will greenlight an 8 episode limited series, because if it doesn't work, you've got the 8 episodes. But now we're seeing things unprecedented, like doing a Willow show and then it goes away. It's literally memory hold after a season. And I watched that show and I'm like, my God, talk about agenda-based.
You'll get through.
I'll struggle.
Agenda-based storytelling. I mean, I've never seen a show that was more ill-conceived than that.
So it's not just DEI hiring; it's DEI renewal. It's you're keeping a show going because of the message. That's kind of a new level.
That feels like what's going on with Wheel of Time. The only reason they're continuing that is because it's got the message, and they'll look bad if they cancel it.
It's also vanity. Those are like they put a lot of money into those. Yeah. Jennifer Salke has her reputation riding on it, which is shit right now, in my opinion. And they even came out and said, like, after the success of Reacher and Terminal List, they're like, well, we don't want a bunch of white guys with guns. But like Reacher, I know, I can't, that was one of the executives at Amazon. It's like, but those are 2 of your more popular shows. If you go, Reacher is procedural. They could, I'm surprised they don't make Reacher like 20 episodes, to be honest with you.
Well, but with Reacher, they're adapting individual novels.
Yeah,
exactly. It would be a little too stretched out, especially like those novels are not super long to begin with.
No.
And they're not like overly
but
complex.
You could adapt
most
2
are not overly complex
novels in one season, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess you could.
Yeah.
And like, obviously the first season was much more beat for beat.
Yes.
Like with the book, whereas the second season is very much completely different. It's a different location. I think they did a good job of like adapting it in that way. But they very much took a different way of looking at that book than the first book.
They're going to have to
get back to the first season.
We've talked about this before, Ryan. I want to say, is it possible, Robert, to bring back procedural in streaming?
Gosh.
Oh, I think they could, because there's so many procedural series that still, like, look at something like House.
Yeah,
you know, House is very popular. They could. It just is a question of how you could do anything if it's good.
And I think the success of Suits, like, should have blown that up for everyone. When you bring Suits onto Netflix and it breaks every record, is like the #1 stream show around for months on end. That should have told everybody, maybe there's something to, I don't know, the way we used to make television. Instead of making everything a $250 million 10-episode movie, maybe we should get back to basics, like people have been watching for decades and decades on end.
Yeah.
I'm watching through Burn Notice again right now. That's a definition of a procedural, and it's a great fucking show. And I feel like there's not enough of those out there. There's too many that are trying to be this premier type of storytelling, and I don't think there's enough good people working on them.
Those need to be treated like blockbuster films, far and few between. Those are your tent poles, your prestige television, and then like it should be supported by cheaper televisions, procedural that would be around forever. I mean, like Tulsa King, it's treated like procedure. Returns this Sunday. Can't fucking wait.
But you know what? With Reacher, the way they set it up, it's just a procedural told over 10 episodes or 8 episodes, and they've done a really great job. I mean, I think they haven't gone in order of the books, but to Ryan's point, I think what was interesting about doing the second season of Reacher was giving that team flavor. It wasn't a direct adaptation, but it was a lot of fun, meeting more about, and then they're going to go back more, I think, in this third season, because they've already green lit it. I forget which book they're adapting, but it's really interesting. Whereas, there's such a long history of detective fiction and these kinds of characters in, whether it's the Michael Connelly, the Bosch series, that Titus Welliver, that's essentially, they did those 10 episode, one season, one story, but those are procedural straight up. They were really great because they're archetypes, the detective, whether it's a modern detective or it's somebody, a throwback detective or whatever, you can't complain about a show like Reacher. If you start complaining about the paradigm and the genre of detective fiction, you're being disingenuous. If you start talking about the message in these shows, it's like, look, man, there's hundreds of years of these kinds of stories. You're going to get rid of Sherlock Holmes. Right. I mean, it's
Stargate fits that same thing as well. And it, like a singular episode things with a longer overarching plot of some kind of political dynamic. It fits into everything. And I don't mind, once you've proven that you can make a quality show from the source material, I don't mind if after you've run out of the source material, you carry on making new things.
Right.
Because you've already proven success.
And you're invested in the characters, and that's the most important part, is investing into characters which can make you look past plot holes and bad episodes, because you still care, you still want to follow your favorite characters around. I don't know. I didn't see, there's stronger episodes than others, but season 1 of the X-Files was fucking awesome. I got enjoyment out of every single episode, all 25 of them.
And there's some really wild episodes in that first season. And they don't really establish the mythology till the last episode in the Erlenmeyer Flask.
No, the Smoking Man doesn't even speak a word until towards the end of the season, when they introduce Skinner. And it's just Mulder and Scully. You're just following them around. Fluke Man, it's one of my favorites. Fluke Man was just
one of the great TV creatures of all time.
Yep.
I guess the only question that can be had is really whether or not there would be that audience for original procedural type television. But I think the point was made, as soon as a lot of these well-known procedurals made it onto streaming, it saw massive numbers. And so, it really does kind of make you scratch your head. It's like, why are they not trying to capitalize on that when clearly there's a market for it?
So what exactly broke everything? Was it the cord cutting at this point? I mean, why did they?
It was going in, yes, it was cord cutting, going all in on streaming, and everybody wanted to be Netflix. I mean, that was essentially it. And they couldn't be.
How do you go?
You need to be
22 episodes a year to 8 every 2
years. I think the analogy made from Sony is you need to be an arms maker. That's basically what you do. You just make the weapons. You don't fight the war. You just make the weapons. And that's pretty much what they'll end up doing. Or as the Sony CEO came out recently and said, get ready for a couple of years of just mergers and buyouts or straight up bankruptcies, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to see all these studios get gobbled up, and Hollywood's freaking out about that because, as Robert pointed out, and I did too, these are vanity projects, and if Amazon and Apple get bored, they can just go, nah, we're done now.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that's also affected this, right, is that they think they have to make, episodic entertainment to the level of quality of film now, where they think that it has to have the visual effects to the standard of film and everything else, where previously we kind of always understood that episodic TV is going to have a lower budget, and that was fine. We were
You're absolutely right about that.
Some of the effects in Stargate SG-1 are really bad. Doesn't bother me at all.
I rewatch Babylon 5 all the time. It's got garbage effects. It's a great show.
Yeah.
But now they need to condense that budget because they have to spend so much per episode to do all the visual effects and everything like that. And now you only get 6 episodes a season.
Well, speaking of something, okay, this isn't procedural and this isn't a small budget. This should be a sure thing. This should be the easiest fucking layup of all time, especially when the author is involved. A little controversial with some people, not with me, but when the author's involved, and that's Harry Potter. So the Harry Potter show, they're going to start casting. It's going to come out in a couple years. And if done right, it will be the biggest show on earth. It'll be the biggest scripted show on earth. Without question, Harry Potter is millennial Star Wars. And I would argue it is most definitely a healthier franchise. It's a bigger franchise because there's books and movies and there's things in the parks and there's merchandise being sold. And I promise you, Harry Potter, if they mass produced Harry Potter merchandise, they don't mass produce it like Kenner does with Star Wars yet. But if they did, it outsells Star Wars. It would. Because there's a pretty even line between men and women who like Harry Potter. It appeals to both sides.
It's like 55% women or something. It's very close to 50-50. Yeah,
it's very close to 50-50. But we got the Harry Potter casting announcement and Ryan.
Casting call announcement.
The casting call, and some people got a little upset with how it was worded, but you have to understand that there's laws in the UK that they have to abide by.
I looked this up. I looked it up because ironically named Equity is our Actors Guild.
Yeah.
And on their pages for it, it does say circumstances where being treated differently and being discriminated against may be lawful. And it specifically says
if it's for white people,
may engage in activity where differential treatment based on race is lawful. This is where there's a request for an occupational requirement. For example, a breakdown may seek to cast someone of a specific racial or ethnic group for reasons
There's also
of authenticity.
Rules here. So this is an American company doing this too. So there's rules within that American company that have to fall into rules in America as well. So you have to have an open cast. And plus, you know why they're doing it? They're doing it so they won't get a bunch of fucking heat.
Yes, because if they did it, they're like, hey, we're looking for all the white kids to audition. Immediately they would get blasted. And legally, I don't know if I don't know exactly the stipulations. When I saw that little tag on, basically, if we can show the actual photo for the casting, hey, we're opening up casting calls for our Harry, Ron, and Hermione. You must be between the ages of 9 and 11 based on this date, which is probably when they're planning to start shooting. The very thing at the end, we're committed to inclusive, diverse casting. For every role, please submit qualified performers without regard to ethnicity, disability, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to wait and see until I see what the casting is.
Yeah.
Now, if I see Black Ron in a fucking wheelchair, then yes, I'm going to have a massive fucking problem with this. Okay?
I want to see Harry in a wheelchair, man.
Well, the thing is, as you pointed out,
the Quidditch very interesting.
This is already a diverse cast within the books. Canonically, it's already diverse. You don't need to change anything. I think the most likely person to be race swapped has already been race swapped in the play, and it'll probably be Hermione, which will be so fucking on the nose, dude.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed if that happens.
Are they gonna give her buck teeth?
Gee, are they gonna have Hermione, the Black Hermione, lead a revolution of house elves that are being enslaved and have everyone fucking laugh at her, point and laugh at her for wanting to free the slaves? Are you gonna do that to Black Hermione? Please fucking do it. And it's like, or if you don't do that, make the Weasleys black. Make the poorest family in fucking all of the UK, apparently.
The funniest part about the house elf revolution, quote unquote, spew is the elves don't want to be free. They don't want to be free.
They like things the way they
like
are.
it. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But if done right, you're adapting a book per season. It'll get a little more difficult as things go down the road as the books get bigger. But I have headcanon. You know my headcanon on this, Ryan. I have headcanon that J.K. Rowling just wants to erase Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson from everything. So that's why she okayed this.
This is the perfect way to tell these stories, right?
Yeah.
We just got done talking about how we need to get away from these kind of long or these like big budget, full length or like 10, 12 episode movies. But in reality, when you have something that is like this, which is beloved as this, which when you make 2-hour movies when you make a 2-hour movie of Order of the Phoenix and people are just screaming about all the stuff that's been left out, like this is the right way to do these shows.
Yes.
And
I totally agree. Yeah. I don't think you can. This is a losing proposition, and it's interesting. This is J.K. Rowling's story. You can't remove her from that. And when she greenlit these projects, when Warner Brothers was able to get the books and get her to greenlight doing them, she expected a certain level of fealty to what she'd written. And Chris Columbus came in, and especially the first 2 books, I think they were almost hampered by how slavish they devoted themselves to making sure the narrative was preserved. But these TV shows have an opportunity to expand character moments, to spend more time getting to know who these characters are. I mean, I think the TV series has the potential to be far better than the films were if it's done right and if people adhere. Because I'll bet your bottom dollar J.K. Rowling is going to take a huge creative lead on these. She's not going to give up. Yeah, you showrunners go do what you want.
No, she's got enough power, enough fuck you. She's got fuck you money forever. And she's been pretty fucking smart with the marketing and stuff. I'd say her only misstep is the Fantastic Beasts movies, and her script writing is not the greatest in the world, but that didn't affect Harry Potter. Like that didn't affect the series at all. And it's just as popular as it was back then. And especially going to, I don't know if you've been to Universal in Florida, Robert, but
no,
dude, Diagon Alley and
but I've been here, and it's really great here too.
Fucking awesome. It is really cool.
Part of me kind of wonders if they had instead tried to maybe go like an animated route, like having an animated series instead.
Well,
because you could just do so much more.
They're doing a radio drama. They're doing a fully cast radio drama. That's cool. Over 100 actors. That's going to be out in a year at Christmas 2025. I guess that's probably their primer, but why not? I argued that George should have done that with A Song of Ice and Fire 2, fully cast audio drama. But oh well. And famously, it's weird because J.K. Rowling said she would never do that. Like she was asked about it. For one, she said there'll never be comic adaptations and there won't be radio dramas. So she went back on the radio drama, and I'm
I don't know. Radio dramas are pretty good.
They're pretty awesome, Rob.
Making one now.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of radio dramas, man. Hey, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that.
Well, just last Harry Potter thing. Please don't fucking make Hermione black and have everyone calling her a fucking mudblood. Are you kidding me?
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Oh my god! Hey, you think it's just that? Oh, I want to take the smart girl and make her black because it's modern television. If you fucking do that, you have no idea how much within the story you will fuck up and like completely recontextualize.
Exactly. Exactly. So Robert's got an audio drama. Tell us about it, buddy.
Well, Max Allan Collins, who wrote the graphic novel that Road to Perdition, the movie Road to Perdition was based on, which is really interesting because when they made Road to Perdition, they didn't want anyone to know it was based on a graphic novel.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was in the early aughts. There was no Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, talk about the power of YouTube. Max Allan Collins, unbeknownst to me, was watching my show, my physical media show on Sundays, where we talk about what Blu-rays came out, what 4Ks came out. And we had a mutual friend who hooked us up. And, we started talking. We were like peas in a pod. And we decided to adapt. He wrote a 19-novel series about a fictional detective that goes from the early 30s to the late 60s. And the gimmick is that the fictional detective gets involved in all these real historical events. And his first novel, which is called True Detective, we couldn't call it True Detective. We decided to call the whole series True Noir because he's a noir detective that gets involved in all of these experiences. I'd never made an audio drama. I didn't even know how to do it. I loved audio dramas. I loved the Star Wars audio drama from NPR. I loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That was one of my favorite things in the world. I especially love the CBS Radio Mystery Theater that was hosted by E.G. Marshall. But I figured I've worked on film, so how hard can an audio drama be? And I got Max to script it. And then his scripts were so good. He adapted his own book. By the way, one book turned into 10 chapters. Each chapter is about 35 minutes long. When I read his scripts, I'm like, oh, we have to get real people to do this. So I hired Christine Sheeks as our casting director. She cast movies like Boogie Nights. She worked for the Coen brothers. She started working. Her first gig was moonlighting. And we started casting people. And they love the script. We cast people like Michael Rosenbaum is our lead, plays Nathan Heller. C. Thomas Howell, Pony Boy himself, plays the sheriff. David Strathairn plays Frank Nitti, who was in everything from The Expanse. He was one of the Belter rebels in The Expanse to he was in the movie Sneakers. William Sadler, who played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh, yes.
He played the villain from Die Hard 2. He's in it. Adam Arkin plays a character. Katie Sackhoff plays our main character's fiance. So we have this incredible cast. Patton Oswalt is in it. And all of these people. So suddenly I've got this star-studded thing, and we had the money to finance it, but we did a Kickstarter campaign that, by the way, is ending in we've already passed but I look at somebody like an Eric July and what he did with his comics, and I'm like, that's the future for creators, I think, to go sell directly to we started a new company, but I wanted to go back and really concentrate on classical forms, the classical detective, the which people would say, well, Rob, is this story woke enough today? And it perhaps isn't. But I love these forms. I love Chinatown, one of my favorite movies. And I wanted to do something like that. And I couldn't afford $100 million to make a season of TV. This is less than that.
Yeah.
A lot less than that. And I have total creative freedom. And I have an excellent music score composed by, we're going to end up having 6 hours of original music in this thing. And there's so many the great actors in it, and I've loved doing this. But what, first and foremost, I had an author adapt their own work. And a lot of people say, oh, don't ever do that. No, Max Allan Collins, he wrote Batman comics in the 80s. He created a great comic series about a female detective named Miss Tree that was published, Gary, by so many different companies. And he's an incredible creator. And to work with him, it's funny that you get the actual guy who created the material to come on and write it for you. And Max has written so many books. So that's what I've been doing. So if you go to True Noir, TrueNoir.co, you've got 5 hours before the Kickstarter thing ends. But what's really great about it for me is my approach is I'm trying to make a movie, but there's no picture.
Yeah.
So between the acting and the sound design, it's mixed in 5.1. I want to have a premiere, and I'll maybe invite everybody. I want to have premieres like in a movie theater where you'd have people come in and turn off all the lights and play it in pitch blackness.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's, I think it'd be fun and have to go to like a multi-city tour, kind of like what Kevin Smith did with Red State. I don't know. We're going to premiere it probably at New York Comic Con in next month.
It's next month already? Shit.
I know, right? October. I know, right? But the funny thing about it for me is I've been working in independent cinema for so long, and it's so hard to get people involved and raise money and all that. It's so difficult. You've got to be a creator, I think, now. It's not just on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, but people now, if you're very creative, you can use crowdfunding to go direct to your audience. And I'm not saying it's easy, but look what you've done, Gary, here. Look what YouTube has allowed people to do. You grow your audience over time, and it gives people, there's a lot of people out there, whether you like board games, a lot of people do board games on crowdfunding campaigns, comic books, computer games. Brandon Sanderson, who's we talked about him earlier. That guy made $40 million going off trying to get 4 books financed. He just did I think a game based on his work where he made $3 million or something, and people doing Warhammer things. And it truly is a new world. And all I can say is it's the most gratifying creative experience I've ever had, more so than making my first feature with William Shatner, my childhood idol. 25 years ago because I haven't had to compromise. I haven't had to change anything. And, you know, when Katie Sackhoff, I was afraid that, okay, it's a set in the 30s and maybe the female characters. When I talked to her about this, she says, I love this character. I love this character. I can't wait to do this material. And that was really gratifying. That wasn't me. That was me knowing who to team up with, but that was Max's work. And it's been really, really gratifying. And you can just see when you see Reacher get adapted by showrunners that really love the material. Look what we get. If you have a fealty to the original material and try and at least what Jackson did with Lord of the Rings, the spirit of it. Yeah, there's no Tom Bombadil. Yeah, there's no Scouring of the Shire. But when you're making a movie, can you imagine watching 3 movies and then ending with the Scouring of the Shire?
Yeah.
Most audiences would have been like,
looks great in the books.
It's great in the books. But I think, I think that and what's been great about having a YouTube community like this, look at Critical Drinker. He's adapting his own novel series, starting out with a short film, spending his own money, going out and doing something like that, putting your money where your mouth is. You know, Chris Stuckman, a YouTuber who's written a few books, he made his movie crowdfunding.
He loves us.
So in a way, a way, though, what I think is really cool is YouTube, the same way in France in the 50s, they had a film magazine called Cahiers du Cinéma. And you had all these critics, people like Francois Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, Andre Bazin, and Godard and Truffaut went on to become some of the most important filmmakers of the 60s and 70s and even to this day. And they began as critics in an esteemed magazine. YouTube, I think the evolution of YouTubers is to start creating beyond the platform and using all the people that are watching now who know you, Gary. I mean, I have to say, one of the great things, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, one of the most gratifying things I've ever done is come to one of your meetups. You know, when I came into Vegas and there for CinemaCon, that was the first time I went to one of your meetups. I couldn't believe your audience. I couldn't believe how cool everybody was. I met some dude who rode his motorcycle down from Edmonton, Canada, to come down on his motorcycle to come and see you. And you're a consummate host. And it's like going to a science fiction convention in the 80s when everybody was there because they loved genre cinema. They loved science fiction, horror, fantasy. And that's what people forget. For all the division people talk about on these platforms, we're bonded by our love of storytelling. And that's how we might be different politically, we might be different socially, whatever, but we all love this stuff. And when you all get together, that's what you feel.
And that's what it used to be a decade ago. And that's why we started the meetup. I mean, I didn't invent meetups, but I started the meetups as a thank you, right? And I wanted all my friends to be there. And it was a thank you to the audience who supports us. But when we get there, it's just a party. It's not like we're going, that damn acolyte. No, we're like just hanging out, and it's tons of fun. And it always has been. That's why I'll always do them. And the audience, this group is one of the most horribly misjudged on the internet. And every time somebody goes 100%. To a meetup and meets them, they're like, oh, wow. It's like, that's what I long for. I know those days are gone, but I long for the days of fandom, back in 2010 when people had a sense of humor, and well, there's also better stuff out, but we had a sense of humor. We could just hang out, and it was a far better time than it is now because of the corporate. I mainly blame corporatism. I
completely agree with you, because nowadays, it used to be the inverse of what it is now. I mean, if you think about it, and this drives me to distraction, but when George Lucas made Star Wars, it was something he wanted to do. Now Star Wars becomes a brand. You sell the brand to a corporation, and a corporation then has to be like, okay, we need to make more product. Who are we going to get to make it? And they're not going after the people that might really want to make it. They can only hire people on a spreadsheet that look good. Like, oh, okay, this person made Russian Doll and this person did this, so let's hire them to do this show. And it's totally inverted in how it should be in terms of how you should get creative people to work on these projects. I didn't understand why Disney just didn't throw out a gauntlet and say, bring us your Star Wars. We want the most passionate filmmakers in Hollywood people obviously with track records, of course, but to come in and pitch your idea. You know, obviously when I listen to Patty Jenkins talk about her Rogue Squadron movie. Remember they did that promo with her in the airport and with the X-Wing fighter, and her father was a jet pilot. You know, he was a fighter pilot. And that's why she wanted to do it. She probably had read those Rogue Squadron books, which are pretty badass.
Yeah, Michael Stackpool. Of course, they didn't actually ask him for any input in the movie.
No,
but,
just like they didn't ask Timothy Zahn about Grand Admiral Thrawn either.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to a meeting, he gets ambushed. Can we use your character? We already used him, but can we use it?
Well,
and that's
you just brought that up, and I was kind of tracking away the Peter Cushing news, that lawsuit that's out there from the Peter Cushing thing. The most interesting thing about that in those articles is the little blurb that says Lucasfilm didn't think they needed to get permission from anyone, so they used it. Got contacted after Rogue One by Peter Cushing's estate and agent, and then paid them like $37,000 after they came to some kind of agreement. They didn't think they needed to ask for permission for anybody for that, which is wild that's just the way they operate in general. Sorry for
you know, it's a Fox. Then they went to Ian Holmes' estate, you know, to add him into Alien Romulus, and they got permission. You can't just use somebody's likeness. I mean, it's and that we're going to deal with. That's going to be a whole other issue.
Oh,
in our AI dystopian future that's coming down the road.
This is like a Disney thing, though, right? With a bunch of authors for the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and even for Alan Dean Foster, who did Star Wars and Alien, both bought by Disney, right? They haven't paid some of these guys royalties in a decade.
Right.
And it's a massive problem at Disney. They just don't give a fuck about that stuff.
No, and the thing is, these poor authors, they don't have enough money to hire great counsel to go after them.
No,
I mean, and I think, as Gary was talking about, the corporatization of our entertainment. I've often wondered, and obviously, if your imagination is colonized by an IP, for me, it was Star Trek at an early age. I can't get away from it. It's kind of an infection. I can never purge myself. It is a terminal disease I will take with me to my death. My love of Star Trek. Is anybody responsible for that? So if I'm somebody that has been infected by an imagination virus brought on by a love of Star Trek, and I've bought all the books and bought all the toys and been a fan since I was 5 years old, does an IP owner owe me anything for that? Because I can't shake it. And if the IP is not being run by custodians of the franchise that have my best interests as a fan at heart, are they liable? I know they
have a moral duty
to
provide you.
I know it's a weird thing, but eventually, if you think about it, if the corporate interests suddenly for an IP, and this is the problem, they don't realize that an IP has to be good to become an IP in the first place. They can't quantify, well, what does good mean? How do you make something good?
They can't. And it's why care has to go into these, and why it generally doesn't work when it's out of the hands of the main creator or people who actually were under that main creator and still felt passionately about Star Trek's like a lot of people, right? Star Wars is George Lucas. Lord of the Rings is Tolkien and his son carrying that. But most of the time, no, it doesn't work. Harv Bennett, famous story that you've told, where you didn't know shit about Star Trek. You didn't know shit about Star Trek, and then he watched a bunch of Star Trek. That's what they need to do. Kurtzman, if he was smart, if he was taking over Star Trek, which he wasn't, he was less interested than Jar Jar Abrams was interested, but he got it. I would sit down. He could afford it. You go rent a house for 6 months, and I watch everything twice with a notebook, slowly.
And your whole staff too.
Yeah, and your whole writing staff. And I'd hit a bunch of novels as much as I could, and I would just study. That's all I would do. And they don't take that kind of care, and you should, because you'll keep your job longer. You'll make more money.
They won't face consequences. So they're like, why should I bother? If knowing that you put out a bad television series and like sank Rings of Power season 1, if that just got you blacklisted, they'd try a hell of a lot more to get Rings of Power season 1 to be nailed.
Dude,
and I think the most interesting part was when you said they hire by like a list. They go on a spreadsheet and hire everyone. I can't watch traditional TV anymore. because I've watched so much YouTube. You get used to a quality level of presenting, and the people with like millions of subscribers, they essentially every single subscriber voted that I want to spend my time with this person.
Yeah.
And so the best people rise up top because everyone's all agreed this person is someone worth watching. You go back to mainstream television, it doesn't really matter why they've got chosen. Most of them don't have the talent of that, and it just makes it awful. They're like wooden. They can't present. They're like
dude. Yeah, we just saw the retirement of today. Yesterday, the final episode of the 3 greatest TV hosts you will ever see with the best chemistry you will ever fucking see. The Grand Tour. Jeremy Clarkson, James May.
Yeah. But do you know how he
Richard
hired
Hammond.
them? Hammond was just put out. They just put out a casting call.
And he was like a radio guy or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So they brought him in and they just tested it. So it was selected by that. But I think what a lot of studios do, they will select somebody to be the presenter of a major show and just be like, you will like this person now. And it's just one person's decision rather than the collective.
Instead of dealing with people that, like the BBC famously got rid of the biggest TV show in the world, broadcast in multiple versions, multiple languages, broadcast in the most countries, was Top Gear. Top Gear was it. And they blew it because they found an excuse to get rid of Jeremy Clarkson because one producer at the BBC didn't fucking like him. And then they went
and got punched in the face.
Got punched in the face. And that guy who got punched in the face ended up going and working for them again, by the way.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. The BBC looked down on it worse than he did. Okay. So, so these guys just said goodbye. And you'll never see anything like it again, but they have this great chemistry and an authenticity about them. Yes, they set up skits and all that shit, but they're real. Like, they're absolutely...
that's all. That's why people watch YouTube.
Yep.
It's funny when when you interview celebrities, and I love celebrities, but I don't know if this is true for you, Gary, but you don't get as many views. Because the one thing about YouTube is people want to hang out. We might as well all be at a bar together, hanging out.
Celebrities don't have time for that.
Conversations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what YouTube really has given. And Hollywood's trying to figure it out. YouTube is the most subscribed to platform in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than any streaming service.
Second largest search engine in the world next to Google. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Behind Rumble, of course.
I'll tell you how good Netflix is. It's beating Netflix, but not by a lot. Which is crazy. But like, yeah, I watch it in my home theater now, Robert. I'll watch Tuesday night's main event on the big screen. I'll watch freaking Ryan on my big screen, so he looks bigger and oranger.
And some people are mixing their shows in surround too.
Yes,
and you're getting things in surround sound, which is amazing, and everybody is kicking up the production value on these shows. And
dude,
look at me. I know.
I'm gonna go off on a tangent.
But you've got great graphics.
But also the cost of entry is getting that much lower as the technology continues to advance as well, and so it's becoming much more accessible for a lot more people too.
Yeah,
well, it's why I brought up earlier, like the cost of all this stuff. At a time when it should be getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, it just seems to be going up to 150, 250 million for 8 episodes is the most insane thing ever. You could literally, there's got to be waste. There's got to be loads of people standing around the set that don't need to be there. I think Hollywood's reached a point where they're so used to being so popular that the money was everywhere that they're not used to working under traditional business practices of cutting waste, keeping things slim, doing things efficiently.
Oh yeah,
money laundering.
The producers want a big stack of cash. The actors want massive, and now they need more producers on set as well. The writers and everything, and so the amount of bloat and waste in it is insane.
Oh yeah, even though Hollywood was allowed to work through it, the government response to COVID fucking broke so much shit. We lost 24-hour Walmarts. We lost 24-hour grocery stores, which I fucking hate. But it also, it broke Hollywood. It forced them to get into streaming probably a little sooner than they wanted to. And, now they're dealing with it. And that, as I've said, now they're competing against their own audience and against themselves. They have these back catalogs that they can't monetize for some reason that are just available now. And to the point where, yes, it's actually hurt piracy because some of this stuff is getting so cheap. Yet the streaming services are so fucking confusing. Nobody's going to get them all. It costs more than cable. So now it's just, it's basically a la carte, and people are now the audience has learned how to, I think Hollywood relied a little bit too much on people forgetting about their subscription, and I think people are getting much better about canceling something once a show's over. And the churn that they talk about, and things have a shelf life now, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they can't. They're going to have to shrink.
Well, they've killed off. I mean, there used to be that great business model. If something did well, which I'll never understand, something does well theatrically, and it comes to your streaming platform, it's more valuable if it did well theatrically.
Yes,
people tune in, and now they want to get rid of that theatrical window. If you do well theatrically, you've been anointed. Your film is anointed. It has a certain credibility, and when people have heard about it, even if they didn't go see it in the theater, they've heard about it. All big theatrical movies do better on streaming platforms if they had success in the theatrical marketplace, and they want to get rid of that. And then things come and go. I don't understand. And then you have all the other ancillary markets. Once it's gone theatrical, you've got video on demand, you've got physical media, which is shrinking, obviously, but all these other things haven't been shrinking. They've been getting bigger, and they want to get rid of that too. But you're just leaving money on the table.
If you look at Netflix's model, one of the reasons why I'm always subscribed to Netflix is there's always new Korean stuff just coming on, and Korean stuff is generally amazing.
Yeah.
But the way their market works is it's just loads of independent studios that make stuff and then basically sell it to Netflix. Netflix almost owns the entire country's entertainment industry at this point. And I don't know why places like they have to make all their own stuff and stuff. They could easily just get like little independent studios all over the place, all making their own products and then shipping it around. It would be way more cost effective for all of them than spending $250 million on something.
Well,
it's
look at
right. Like Netflix, when Netflix started this entire thing out, they weren't producing shit, right? They were just accumulating. They were licensing all of these things. Then they started doing some original content, some of which was really fucking good.
Yeah,
but that was a tiny, minuscule amount of the total content that was on Netflix. That's the way they've been operating their entire existence, where all these other companies, they're the ones that are producing these things. That's what they do. And so now they've got into streaming thinking that it would just be profitable right away for them to stop selling their shit to Netflix and instead put it up on their own streaming services. And they quickly realized that the math does not work.
Nope.
And they're desperate now.
And the investor money's gone.
They're desperate now to price people out with that premium option. Eventually it's going to be like $30 to have ad-free like streaming service, because they desperately want you to have the ad tier, because they can make way more money by selling advertisers and making you an ad than they can just.
But then they're going to have to release the viewership information to get that ad revenue. And they're going to have to be honest.
That's going to be a death sentence.
And then it's going to go back to then actors are going to want more money if the show performs better, that the unions are going to get involved. And what they did was they're going to have to go back to the model that was working for decades.
Yes.
They're going to have to go back to what already worked and change things, which is kind of wacky. But Disparu, what you brought up, seeing foreign Netflix was bringing us the world, whether it was material from Asia, France, India. I mean, that was one of the beautiful things. And the documentaries they were bringing us, there was such a diversity of stories to watch, to things to experience, world cinema, getting shows like Squid Game, when I don't think 10 years ago we would have ever seen something like that.
No. Money Heist? I never would have watched Money Heist.
No.
Money Heist was dope.
Doctor Who's resurgence in America is directly linked to Netflix. It was right before the 50th anniversary. Netflix had all the modern Doctor Who that a lot of people just couldn't see in order normally. And it led to probably its peak in this country right around the 50th anniversary. And that was because of Netflix, because we had access to it. We could see it. But yeah, ultimately, either Hollywood has to go back to what worked before, or they're going to get passed up. I don't know which happens. Some form of Hollywood will always be around, but I think it really does fracture, and you're going to see just more stuff being made around the world and around this country. You'll start seeing different hubs of entertainment. They're starting to happen. There's Atlanta, right? Atlanta's a hub. Here
Louisiana.
Louisiana here in Texas is kind of a podcast hub. There's a lot of podcasters here. So you're seeing that fracture, and I think that's all of it's good, because it'll give more people more opportunities.
And then you've got companies like Neon. They had Long Legs was their biggest theatrical release, and they're making movies. the idea, the real problem with studios, what really happened that people I don't think understand enough is that it used to be a studio would make a movie for the domestic market. That's why we would get adult dramas, we get thrillers, we get comedies, we get horror movies, because movies would cost not a whole lot. Hunt for Red October was a movie that cost $30 million. Now it would cost $200 million, and it would be a 10-episode show. But now the studios are only making movies for the international market, so they have to spend $150 million or $200 million in hopes that they'll make $1 billion. But on the flip side of that, you got people like A24 and Neon, and people have become A24 fans. They'll make horror films, or even Paramount will make a movie like Smile for less than $20 million. It makes $200 million. Well, that's a good business.
That's a good business.
But and if you did 10 of those a year, that's healthy. But the studios are always shooting for the fences. Why not get a base hit every time?
Right.
You know, and the real question is, when we watch a movie, and I'm obsessed by this too, 90 minutes or 2 hours. That's all you get. Okay. Yep. Would you rather watch a YouTube show like FNT? Would you want to go see maybe a mediocre movie at the theater that you pay $100 to take your family to see? It's the same amount of time. And YouTube, for no money, for free, can be as entertaining for an audience as going to the biggest blockbuster. In fact, even more so, because people are hanging out with their friends. And
you don't have to put pants on.
You don't have to put pants on.
You don't have to put pants on.
But I mean, that's what they don't understand is it's not about the entertainment. You don't have to spend $200 million to entertain people for 90 minutes or 2 hours. And that's something Hollywood used to be able. They were the only game in town for that kind of entertainment. And if it ain't great, if your TV show isn't great, it's not going to succeed, because we don't have to spend any money to put this show on.
No. If something bores me, like, I'm having the best time watching X-Files, dude. I can't wait to get done and go check out a couple of episodes of X-Files. That's where we're at
and
now.
Season 2 gets really good.
Yeah, it does. It does. We got Krychek already. But we're gonna head in the super chats now. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Then they got the bonus hour on Rumble. What are we talking about there? Oh yeah, Matt Walsh's new movie. Who here's seen it? Because I didn't. Okay, so Odin can talk about it.
Only Odin.
Boy, it's going to be a long night.
Sorry, Daily Wire. They gave me early access to it, and I didn't see it because I've been busy. I've been busy. I got shit to do, man, but I'll watch it.
I do think it's a strange that if especially for someone like that, if you want word of mouth to spread and you want it to go around the internet and stuff, releasing it only in cinemas in America is very niche. I
wonder if
baby steps for them though, right?
Yeah, baby steps
behind the paywall.
It's their first theatrical release.
And how
ever.
open is your country going to be to Matt Walsh's movies from the Daily Wire?
Yeah,
let's be real.
But again, the Daily Wire became when they first became. I got banged on for covering this, but Daily Wire became another venue for low budget filmmaking. Their first movie was Run, Hide, Fight, the school shooting movie about the terrorists and suddenly they couldn't sell that movie to the studios, and they went to the Daily Wire. They sold it to Daily Wire. Daily Wire gave it to their subscribers, and suddenly take the politics out of it. Whatever you think of the Daily Wire, but they became a place where an independent filmmaker could go take their movies.
Well, they're doing Snow White.
Yeah,
Snow White, and then other. Didn't they do the Carla Gugino? Different one.
Gina Carano.
Gina Carano.
Yes.
I have Carla Gugino on the brain.
Yeah,
Terror on the Prairie.
They did that. And so if you're an independent filmmaker, they became yet another place to go.
Hail Gina, by the way.
To take your film. So if you're not a Matt Walsh fan or whatever, but from an independent filmmaking perspective, always having another place to distribute your work is a good thing.
And I'd have to imagine that, not to say it doesn't cost any money to make at all, but when you look at the production value and what it's going to cost to do something like What Is a Woman or Am I Racist, there's potential that they can get a lot of return on something like this. I'm very interested to see how it performs at the box.
A lot of money.
This is the first time we've ever seen them do anything like this. How many is it, 1,500
About
theaters
1,500.
released
Not bad.
Yeah. That's not a bad release. Certainly not 4,000. Of course, we wouldn't expect it to be something like that anyway, but still, it's going to be an interesting litmus test for them.
Yep.
And again, from a if you want to take the politics out of it, from a business perspective, very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I wish more people would take the politics out of it and think the business perspective, and we get better adaptations. The Lord of the Rings, probably.
Yeah, I mean, guess what? I guarantee you that theaters absolutely loved having Angel Studios movies in their theaters, right?
Making money.
Making a bunch of money. At the end of the day, theaters, it's been so bad for theaters over the last couple of years. I think they want money, regardless if it's a $2 billion Avatar movie or whether it's butts in seats for a $500 million.
Beetlejuice is doing well.
Beetlejuice is doing solid
really well. Good.
Not great internationally, but
well, no, that was
really an international.
It was never really an international. I don't think it was even distributed that outside of probably some European countries, but no, it's doing well and good. I'm glad it's doing well.
Yeah.
I think that the money point is an interesting thing because if you are advocating something else apart from the money, you're not actually confident that your views are very popular.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be like, no, obviously I want the most profitable thing because I'll win then. So
yes. Legalize Adulthood has gifted us 40 Nerdrotic memberships for $200. Hell. Hey, check in on, could you check in, Garrett, you're back there while he's editing my video. That's not done yet, on the Rings of Power. Yes, I'm seeing it all the way through, damn it. Could you pull up
just slog.
The Horseman? How's The Horseman doing? Eric July released a book at 6 a.m., dude. I know the rest of the real working men and women out there are up at that time, but no, I'm not up at that time. Are you kidding me? Those days are over. Those days are over, okay? I want to see how it's doing. Not Another Dime has gifted 20 Nerdrotic memberships for $100. Thank you. The Horseman, written by Chuck Dixon, art by Joe Bennett, the great, legendary Chuck Dixon. By the way, he is the man.
How cool was it that, again, seeing Chuck Dixon, again, going direct to the audience and having that success?
Mm-hmm. He did the Hobbit comic book adaptation, the only Tolkien comic adaptation that he told the story here on this live stream. They backdoored the rights. They basically went out and I guess they were available and they started doing it, and they're like, well, we're gonna finish it anyway, so whether you give us an okay or not, and the Tolkien estate gave them an okay, and the comic is fucking great, by the way. But hail Chuck Dixon, known for a couple of other things too. So we got 51 days to go. We're almost at $400,000. Oh my God. God. You guys are awesome. I already got my stuff. I already ordered my stuff. So link will probably be in the chat. I'm glad old Eric survived his hip surgery. Old 72-year-old Eric July. Fell down and broke his hip. I don't know what the hell, dude? You're like 25 years younger than me, and you're breaking hips. That does not bode well for me.
Wait, did he actually fall down and break his hip, or was it just like?
I think it was just his hip surgery.
Yeah.
It was just hip surgery.
I thought it was like from like training and shit.
Yeah,
like
he had his hip transitioned. Noons has gifted 50 Nerdrotic memberships for $250. Noons. Hell.
Pretty dope.
Pretty dope. These people. These people. What do you mean by these people? You're dope. Norm Al Man for 50. Hail. If you guys had a neuralizer from N in Black B and were in the same room with all the most important execs, directors, and writers in Hollywood, what show or movie would you have them forget in order to erase their influence? I choose Game of Thrones personally. Thanks. I would choose Rings of Power immediately. I just a neuralizer.
I think the question is, if you could erase a show or movie from people's memory to make them stop trying to replicate that nowadays,
okay.
Which one would you do? That's the point of the question. And he said Game of Thrones because that made everybody feel like we wanted all these morally ambiguous, fucking very dark type of subversive
I would say
things.
Girls because
I agree with Chrissy.
For
I'm
a
just
long
kidding.
time. Just like Lena Dunham is really insufferable.
She needs to be
I don't know.
erased.
Hang on.
I can't get her nude body out of my mind.
You're referring to a movie and not just girls generally. Okay.
Girls,
yeah.
Oh, I thought she was talking. Yeah, I thought she was talking about girls generally. No, I just. Game of Thrones worked. It was really of its time, right? Even though it was written well before, but in moral ambiguity had reached kind of its peak in 2010, 2011, 2012, especially with comic books. Everybody had a bad Superman story. Everybody had the superheroes fighting each other. Everybody had a superhero going. Remember Speedball, Robert? What did they do to Speedball in Civil War? Speedball, Steve Ditko creation, kind of a goofy superhero. They turn him into penance because he accidentally blows up a school full of children and so his new superhero form is a suit that has spikes on the inside that go into his skin, and he's called Penance. Yes, because he feels bad. Because he feels bad. Yeah. The Civil War comic, a little different than the movie. It's not.
Yeah,
like
but that was a really great way to kick it off.
Oh, it was all. Yeah. It's really believable. I mean, instead of a little explosion with the Wakanda king, it was a school full of children after a superhero battle that went like way too far. And then Wolverine was sent to hunt for Speedball, right? He was sent to hunt for the new warriors in Speedball.
Yeah.
Hulk was sent off planet to get him out of the fight by Reed Richards, who thought he was going to send him to a peaceful planet. Turns out it didn't work out that way. It's a pretty crazy story, but that's what was going on in comics right now. Irredeemable, fucking Mark Waid, not a fan, but Irredeemable makes the boys look soft. If you read Irredeemable, it's crazy. The Boys came out, of course, in the aughts. It was very trendy at the time to do that kind of stuff. But that time has passed, and the hero has been deconstructed absolutely and completely at this point, and now we need to reconstruct the hero.
Totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, went a little diatribe about that one. Magnum Norris for 50. Never forget when Gary sold his soul for money. Except he never did it. Gary can't read, but he's our man. Oh man, you would not believe the stuff I've turned down. But I'm okay for Friday Night Tights and for Rumble stuff. Just for me, no alcohol or gambling. But I don't care if other people do it. Do it all day long. But just for me personally, I can't do that stuff.
That's because you don't drink or gamble.
I gamble. But addiction kind of thing, yeah. I mean, I suck at it, but I'm pretty good at blackjack. There you go.
But you'll gamble on artistic endeavor.
I will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I gamble on life every day when I wake up. So,
don't we all?
I'm better at pinochle than poker because pinochle was the game of choice in prison. So, pinochle and throwing the bones, man. Dominoes. I'm really good at dominoes. So I was beating black guys at dominoes.
And what's the one where you have to hang on to the soap?
Somebody just clip out the dominoes part in that, please. I was beating black guys.
That's how next on rewriting.
Dude, dominoes
Chris,
games got fucking real, by the way. They got real. What was that, Chrissy?
I said, what's the game where you have to hang on to the soap?
I was laughing.
The prison pocket.
That's called
Prison.
That's called prison.
Yeah.
It's called keeping your head on a swivel at all times. It's called sleeping with one eye open. You know, you don't get a lot of sleep there. You just don't. Wonko the Sane for $49.99. Greetings from outside of the asylum. I discovered you folks last year when I Googled why do all oh really? You discovered us when you Googled why do all Marvel movies suck now?
Wow.
That's great.
Awesome.
Thanks for being the finest group of gay retards on the internet. Hell, yeah, there we go. That's us. For sure.
We're diverse. What can we say?
We're diverse. GJJ for $51. I'm 51 today. Happy birthday, old fucker. Wanted to say it on the Green app, but it wouldn't let me. So retarded. Yeah, what's up, Green app? I don't know why it wouldn't let you. Are you on an app? Is it? I don't know if it's different for iPhones or anything. I don't know. Noons for $184.99. This is Arab Emirate pesos. Says George R. R. Martin, the man who couldn't finish. Yep.
Accurate.
UX. How am I supposed to say this, X-Ray Girl? Ux Gailey Q for $79.99 Australian. Gary, this is your emotional support money for all of this abuse I have done to you on X for entertainment purposes, and I am not sorry. Just be honest. You giggled at some of them. Yes, dude. We all get destroyed in memes, and it's fucking hilarious. But it's usually Ryan gets it the worst, which I find the most entertaining.
So funny.
Richard Swinburne has gifted 10 Nerdrotic memberships for $50. Thank you. Magnum Norris for $52. Jerk off session by Bezos to bait Musk. Shit is boogie. What the fuck did I just say?
When is jerk off season?
I was going to say that.
Jerk off
session.
That
ever ended or started.
Jerk off session.
No, not November.
Well, last week we did have jerk off, right? We had an episode of jerk off in our intro. That's what I thought.
Right.
But it's actually jerk off session by Bezos to bait Musk.
Oh.
Shit is boogie. Shit is boogie. They don't like each other. Well, they're in competition. I like billionaires being in competition and roasting each other, making memes about each other. I think that's fucking awesome. I think it's great. Look at Zuckerberg. Look at the turnaround he's trying to make. He's trying to act human. So I think
I've updated my program.
I have updating to be more human.
AI just advanced.
I heard humans like sweet baby rays.
Watch me hold American flag.
Look, I am blinking enough.
I drink the beer. Humans like beer. Gatekeeper for 2 parts for $60. Hail, chat. Hail to the awesome panel. I don't expect George will finish his book. I'm only a casual fan, however, but I think it'd be awesome if he did. I would too. I would dedicate multiple videos and live streams to the Wins a Winner, like every damn chapter. I respect all of you so much for the content you create and share with us. Hail RMB. Love you, Gary. Love you too. Gatekeeper for 30. Forgive me for this, Gary, but super shout. You can shout out whoever you like. It's all good. We love Nerd Wars, Diabolical Souls, Film Threat. Not too sure about the Frank Gore guy, but I love Alan Ingram. Geeks and Gamers. Basically Ryan. Heel versus Babyface. May you rest in peace. Quarter Black, get your ass up. Done with my video, damn it. Zach's, Snarky J, Ripaverse, Epic Verse, and may God bless the Eric Angel. Please subscribe to the Angry Badger. Subscribe to Angry Badger. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. Met him in San Diego. I like the Angry Badger. He's a good guy. I know what I'm trying to get the cadence right.
You want me to do it?
No, well, yeah, you do it. Do it in Asian accent, please.
Me too dumb motherfucker.
That's better. That's way better than if I did it. For $1.99. It just says R&B. We love R&B. Jackson loves Nintendo for $1.99. Did X-Ray feel seen when Trump said no eating cats? She did.
No, I was offended. Obviously,
she prefers dogs. Yeah,
they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cat. Eat the cat. I like how that's I like how that's just turned into like a thirst trap for thoughts like to go and dance to. Who want? I mean, really? If I was a woman, I'd want to eat my pussy. I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's a song that was been made from it.
I didn't even think of that. Oh my god!
How could you not think of that? And so now that song is like. They're eating the cat. Eating the cat. Eat the cat.
Yeah.
Eat the cat.
I love how we're getting like full Asian X-Ray girl right now with the delay.
Oh, am I delayed?
A little bit.
Wow. Yeah, really delayed.
Just a bit.
Yes.
The ADR is off.
Oh.
The ADR is off. Kevin Henderson for $5 has gifted 5 Nerdrotic memberships for $25. Thank you very much. Janine King has donated $1. Super Ropinion Man for $5 says The Crow was review bombed before it even came out, then hated by everyone who liked the original. This is an attack on all straight white men. Yes, obviously. Even the Alex Proyas came out and fucking shit on the movie, which is great. I love it. I want to see more directors shitting on other people's movies. I want to see Quentin Tarantino saying George Clooney isn't a movie star. We need to reintroduce rivalries and talking shit to the world. I love it.
People love it.
They do. And this honesty, you know. Foxy Scorpio for 1999. During one of his recent live streams, RMB boasted that Megaforce was the best film of 82 and possibly the greatest action film ever. I like Megaforce, brother.
Never said that, but this would be a time. This would be my time to say that the star of Megaforce, Barry Bostwick, is also in the cast of our audio drama, True Noir.
No
and you got 3
You
hours.
got Brad.
The Kickstarter. We got Brad from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
We
He
got
plays
Brad.
President-elect FDR.
Oh, that's
And
great.
He was delightful.
And how does our generation know about Megaforce, my friend? It's because it was on the back of every fucking comic for a year.
Ever. And of course, the meme, you know, the good guys always win.
Yes.
Even in the 80s.
Even in the 80s. I could not agree with Robert more. What say you, Gary? Megaforce, it's an 80s movie that I watched.
Megaforce is terrible.
It's
Come on.
fucking awful.
Let's be clear.
It is. I love that movie.
But I watched it in the theater because it was on the back of every fucking comic book. So
I did too.
I forced my mom to
Kambata
take me.
is in that from Star Trek
Yes.
Motion Picture. Michael Beck who played Swan in The Warriors is in that motion picture.
But there's a couple movies that came out in 82 that might be considered better. Blade Runner,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Blade Runner. Well, it came out in that same within
Wrath of
2
Khan.
months. Conan, Wrath of Khan, Road
Yeah.
Warrior, Poltergeist, The Thing, Blade Runner. I mean, and Megaforce.
God damn, that was a good summer.
Best summer ever.
Fuck. I was 12, dude. I was 12. I was in,
But Barry Bostwick, by the way,
Poltergeist,
one of
too.
my favorite, one of my favorite animated films of all time is a French film called Fantastic Planet.
Yes.
And Barry
Oh,
Bostwick
man.
does the English. He does the lead character. He does the American.
You ever seen that on acid?
voice. Oh, dude, it's the greatest movie
Woo.
ever.
Hell
You guys
yeah.
haven't seen Fantastic
Does that
Planet?
improve every movie or just that one?
Acid? No. But
yeah, it'll blow your mind though if you watch Fantastic Planet. when
Fantastic
you're,
Planet
lit.
is made for acid. Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow.
You don't even have to
Any
be on
movie-
acid, and it'll feel like you're on acid.
You feel like you're on acid.
Ah,
It is a
okay.
French animated movie, and it is very French. Very French.
It's very good though. It's very good.
Yes.
And
Love
Barry
it's
Bostwick
French.
does the. Don't watch. It's the one movie that and Shogun Assassin are the only 2 movies I would recommend watching the dub, the English dub.
There you go. Hi, King Fanor. Alpha Chad of Middle Earth for 10. What is up, brother? You get some applause for holding the line on Twitter. Give this account a follow on Twitter. He will just smack you with lore every single time, and it's beautiful. Here's 10 for the coffers. I'm listening at work. Hail, brother. Hope everyone is well. Oh, before I forget, Shad, Twilight sucks. Read the Silmarillion.
I never said it was good. I just said I like it.
It came out the
means it's
same year
good.
as Star Wars. The Silmarillion,
So, yeah, it did. It did.
1977.
Joseph Fabre for $10. I know I found that out later. I wasn't reading the Silmarillion when I was 7. Okay, just wasn't happening. I knew about the Hobbit cartoon. Like that was my gateway to Tolkien. Was watching that when on network TV in prime time.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Mhm. I can't remember what time of year they showed it. It was like a holiday, right? It was like right around the holiday.
I
Can't
think
remember.
so. I don't
Oh,
remember.
Thanksgiving or
We
Christmas?
forgot. We
or-
teased this. We forgot to mention Breakaway Day. Robert.
Oh yes. So okay, so for those of you who don't know, in the 70s there was a 2-season show called Space 1999, and Martin Landau starred as Captain John Koenig of the Moonbase Alpha space station, and in the show on September 13th, 1999, in universe, which is 25 years ago today, the moon was blasted out of Earth's orbit.
Yep.
It goes on an odyssey, and the people that lived on Moonbase Alpha. It only ran 2 seasons. The first season is the best. The second season, producer Fred Freiberger came on and kind of ruined it the same way he did for the 3rd season of the original Star Trek series. But there's something really and by the way, there's a channel on YouTube where Space 1999 it just plays forever. All the episodes. It's all so you can always watch it. But the first season of Space 1999 has everybody from Christopher Lee in it, Peter Cushing is in it, Joan Collins is in it, Brian Blessed is in it, or he comes in the second season. But all these great British character actors. Yeah, Martin Landau, and it's really terrific. And the first season And of course, it has the greatest spaceship of all time, besides the Enterprise and the Millennium Falcon, which is called an Eagle Transporter. But if you watch it, there's a really weird existential bent to the first season, and one of the scariest hours of TV you'll ever watch. Maybe not so much now, but when I was a little kid, is an episode called Dragon's Domain. And if you've seen it, you'll remember it.
That show creeped me out, man. And it was
It's
always
a creepy
on
show.
In LA. I think it was on channel 13, KCOP.
And it's also got one of the great theme songs. The first season has one of the great pieces of theme music ever written for television.
Yes.
By the great Barry Gray.
Never forget.
Everyone else is like falling asleep. I know.
Joseph
but
Fabre.
trust me.
Joseph Fabre for $10 says, I know he passed away, but I admit I miss Az. You know what? I don't. He was so boisterous and unique. Still love the entire FNT crew, though. Hail to you all. I actually spoke to his ghost this morning. I did.
Oh, how's his ghost
How
doing?
is he?
His ghost is doing
Did
fine.
you insult him?
Yes. Smickball. We watched something together. So, Smickball for $31.99. Happy birthday, RMB. Is it your birthday? No.
Well, according to the YouTube space, my birthday's every day, and everywhere I go, people they've been keeping this joke going since February. So I salute all of you.
Oh, so you have birthday year.
They follow me everywhere. It was started by one of my moderators, and no one ever, wherever I go, they find me.
Everybody
So
wish
thank you for that.
Robert Meyer Burnett a happy birthday today, and Frank Gore a happy birthday month. So they're both practically interchangeable at this point. So it's okay. Come to Dallas Fan Expo next year. Hail the fellowship. They should invite Dallas Fan Expo should invite Robert and have him do a panel. He's pretty good at it.
I'll do that. Sure. Hey, are any of you planning to go to any of the Jaws 50th anniversary celebrations in Martha's Vineyard?
No.
Next year is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. I've never been to Martha's Vineyard. I don't know if anyone's going.
Maybe Ron DeSantis can fly me up there. My governor can fly me up there. I'll just go down to Eagle Pass and come in, and then I'll get a free plane ride to Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, that's what we should do.
Yeah. No. Hey, 50th anniversary of Blazing Saddles screening Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Sunday. Andrew Montpetit. It's French, so whatever. Thank you. The ad reads have turned Gary into a boomer Shapiro.
Oh, how dare you?
It's amazing. I'm way older than him and Matt Walsh, but less
you're not
mature.
a boomer.
But I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer.
No.
Burnout would probably be way more descriptive.
Okay, Burnout.
The Darvatar for $10 says Galadriel is supposed to be in a Marian-esque lady of devotion, a celebration of the strength of femininity. Of course, these Philistines believe femininity is weak. I cannot say it. And only the masculine can be strong. They have destroyed that. That is the biggest point of exception with this series. There are only problems with the Rings of Power, but the main one is you took Galadriel and you reduced her in character in some weird way. In their logic, they thought we need to throw her in armor to make her more empowered, but you actually make her less empowered and a lot more dumb.
I mean, that would have been bad enough because then they just made her also insufferable.
She's insufferable.
An entitled narcissistic cow in the show.
Yep. She's got acolyte knives. Did you notice that? She's got acolyte knives.
Oh, she pulled something out of her hair to get because she has to.
Well, she had a prison shank. She had a prison shank, and then she Adar, who's like a foot taller than her, she gets him in a headlock, and then he's all stupid. We should join forces, and the fact that it's even being considered that Galadriel would treat with orcs is retarded squared. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Have you seen what Twitter's losing its mind over, though? There's a scene, I'm assuming it's from the trailer or something, of something which, with a normal hand, stroking a cheek, and they're all like, oh, but who can we ship with them? And the current thing that came out of this week is that it's Adar, and the only thing of him which isn't, been perverted into orcishness is his hand, and so they're going to fall in love. That's the new
So Galadriel just is a slut and slept her way around Middle Earth.
No,
you know?
my Twitter has been amazing this week because I've retweeted so many pro Rings of Power people. My entire feed is just like people shipping random things from Rings of Power and praising it. I've been having a great time.
You've been
by
doing
more people
some
this week than ever before.
Your Rings of Power videos have been really great, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
some of them. Episode 3 and especially this week were rough because you watch them twice and nothing happens.
Dude, you got to get when the episode's
Twice.
a little more boring. You got to get a little more creative. You've been doing a great job. I noticed it was a boring episode because your video was only 48 minutes long.
Yes. Actually, in the Acolyte, I did enjoy one of the best things was because nothing was happening in that show. Everyone's reviews got better because we just talk about random topics that happen, like they reminded them.
Oh, you get a little better. You create names for the characters, and then you get to point out like little details that are really fucking dumb that nobody would normally care about. I have a criteria for my videos. It has to be 8 out of 10 fucking stupid for me to bring it up. Otherwise, my videos would be 3 hours long. It was rough hitting it this one because it was boring, but I found a way. And so have you.
I just want an entire Gilgadaddy episode so that half
Dude.
of it is just him saying Gilgadaddy.
Gilgadaddy. I worked really hard on a short clip. I hope people like it because I worked on it for 2 hours till 3 o'clock in the morning for 3 or 4 seconds. So I won't say it's the hardest 3 or 4 seconds I've ever worked for, but
that's my other thing with Rings of Power. I am clipping every time everyone says something's hard, and it's just going to extend long. And every time someone says Anatar.
I love how they're clowning themselves with how much they roll their R's in that. Astari Azul for $4.99. If each of you had been given a superpower, what would you all pick and why? I pick Swamp Thing powers over plants or teleportation. Swamp Thing power, but that's a trade-off, man. That is or lady, that's a trade-off. What powers would I want? I like teleportation. That one's pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of mine too.
Flight or teleportation. Invulnerability. Good. I wouldn't want Wolverine powers because you feel all the pain anyway. You just heal, but you feel all the pain. But
I would go time manipulation with precognition.
So you want to be Dr. Manhattan, basically. But see, there's always a trade-off.
Mild time manipulation, so you can speed up or slow down time around you in a localized vicinity with precognition is actually
the ability to eat tacos forever and not get fat.
That'd be a great power.
Ooh, yep.
I still think immortality.
Immortality.
As long as you stayed young, you have to stay young and healthy.
Perpetual youth. Yeah.
If you couldn't, it'd be crap. But otherwise,
I think the ability to go through your clothes quickly and determine like what doesn't fit anymore, what you clearly haven't worn in years, and just be able to like make a decision and donate it already. That would be my superpower.
There you go. What about you, Robert? Do you have a superpower you wish you had?
Well, I would like time travel, but probably flight.
Flight's good. Yeah.
You know, if I could, I would love to be able to just fly anywhere I wanted to go. Especially I'm still here in California. It'd be nice to get places in half the time, or
like just by yourself or like in a plane.
No, like flight, like Superman. You know, endless. Yeah, I could travel very quickly. You know, I mean, how great would it be if you could fly to the French Riviera in the morning, have a nice breakfast, go
used to be able to do
in the
that.
Alps later this afternoon.
Good old Concorde. Costs a couple bucks though.
That's what we need. But I would really like, go through like the Siege Perilous, like the X-Men could.
Yeah.
Maybe go through time.
Piece of Utter Destruction for $4.99. Thanks, RMB, for recommending Werner Ving's Fire Upon the Deep.
Fire Upon the Deep. Werner Vinge.
Werner Vinge.
If you guys want to read an incredible novel, one of the great space operas ever written, Werner Vinge's A Fire Upon the Deep is a must-read. And if you want to read a really scary science fiction novel, I recommend this to everybody. Read Peter Watts' novel Blind Sight. It's one of the most disturbing or a thought-provoking first contact books I've ever read.
How many pages?
Fire Upon the Deep's it's a huge book. It's 800 pages or something. But Peter Watts' Blind Sight is less than that.
John the Beard for 5 Chilean pesos. Is it weird Chrissy and X-Ray Girl have awesome booms? My mother is a redhead and we are Asians, sort of. Then again, Ryan is the sexiest man alive.
Wow.
That's Clarkson.
Lots to unpack.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna loan you my glasses. Okay, for Ryan, not the ladies. Snoopy Diz for $10. Polo.
Pollo.
Pollo or pollo.
That was from the intro.
Oh, that was from the intro. That's right. That's funny because I don't know if Perry probably doesn't know that the telenovela intro makes an appearance in my Rings of Power video.
Oh.
Bob Loblaw for $4.99. I vote you guys get Despot of Antrim as a special guest. Any chance of that happening? Talk to the boss down there. Talk to the booker.
I will put that in the list.
Stephen DeLeon for $20. Gary, just got through watching Yellowstone 1923 and 1883. And if you want a good female story, Elsa on 1883, that show is great and tragic. I watched it. Yes,
Very good.
Very good. And my favorite character on Yellowstone are Jimmy and Casey. Shout out West Texas. Shout out. Well, if you like the Taylor Sheridan and Sly Stallone and a writer from, I believe it's, God, what's the motorcycle show Jeremy likes?
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Tulsa King this Sunday. Also the Penguin. I think the Penguin comes out this Sunday too. There's Agatha.
Yay.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I've been looking forward to that for months. Everything I hear about it makes it sound better.
Also, the Grand Tour ended. The final episode is out there. Go check it out. EM note to you for $5. Did you guys kill Kirsch stream so I would remember to roll on over here? No, I would never do that. We like her. She's welcome back anytime. She's awesome. Griff Nizzle for $10. RMB, you getting the Tommy 1 350 scale Connie refit? That thing looks like pure sex. Arguing with myself on what's not to waste $700 on. Adulting sucks.
What your esteemed viewer was talking about is Tomy the Toy Company did a crowdfund for basically a 3-foot die cast Starship Enterprise from Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yes.
The most beautiful fictional spaceship of all time.
Yes.
They did the original series Enterprise, which was pretty good, die cast, but this looks to be probably the greatest fictional starship. I think the crowdfunding campaign closed.
Oh no.
Maybe today, but it might be still going. You know, if it is closed, you can always go over to True Noir for 2 more hours. But yes, I did order that Tomy ship because it is the greatest fictional starship of all time.
I'm checking right now. It's over. It's on
Is
the
it
wish
over?
list. It's over. No, that's no. They did the refit. It's with the refit, right?
It's the refit. Yeah, it's the refit.
There it is, right there. Let's see.
Is it still going?
I'm gonna be very disappointed.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Is it gone?
Gone. Wait. What's going on with my internet? Okay. Oh, it's still going. Okay. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
I can't recommend it highly enough. It's the greatest. It's gonna be, and it's 3 feet. It's a chunky boys.
I want to see it now. Is there any images?
Yeah, here. Let me give you the link.
And it lights up, and it comes with the Vulcan warp sled and the Vulcan shuttle Surak that brings Spock to the Enterprise during.
Did they have this like at Con? Somebody had a version of this.
They had it Star Trek. They might have had it at Comic-Con. They might have, but it wasn't. It was just a mock-up. It wasn't the full diecast. Like this, the one in the pictures is the diecast one's going to be even better. But
yeah, that's pretty badass looking.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Oh, September 15th. So it's two more days.
2 more days.
85% diecast, 15% plastic.
Yeah, and it lights up, and you can the hanger.
I have a show to do, so I'll go back to that after the show if we got a couple days.
You got 2 days.
I think it's gonna be heavy though. How am I gonna hang it from my ceiling, man? I'm gonna have to get reinforced hooks.
Yeah, you need it. You need to put on the base so it can light up, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah,
but
it's
heavy.
It's heavy. Black Cane for $5. We need a relatively unknown Mormon author to finish a fantasy series. Shad, you're up. Happy birthday, Rob. Stinian Hegheim has gifted 1 Nerdrotic membership for $5. Thank you, Stian. I said Stinian. I just added a bunch of shit to your name that wasn't there. Foggy Beamer Gamer for $20. I found out The elves in Rings of Power named Gandalf, Tarduin of...
Tardalorian.
Yeah, I'm having difficulty. Points at him and says, the Mithrandir. Oh, God, okay. The Mithrandir shot. They'll do that next. Is he a grand elf? I was wondering where you were going with that, but you were too smart for me. Sorry. The Masterpiece for 10 euros says, never caught one of these live, but I started listening when I heard my good N-Ward, Disparu, was going to be one of the hosts. Didn't know Ryan and Nerdrotic were this based either. Hail. I'm just a dude.
It's interesting if people found out about the stream because of me, because I found out about the stream because of Az. Like I was watching his Batwoman videos and I'd seen some of Gary's Doctor Who stuff, but I'd never seen this stream, didn't know it existed until he came over, and that's when I first checked out. So my first introduction to Jeremy was the big massive argument between the two of them.
That's awesome.
Like, what on earth is happening? Just went on and on.
Great.
Dude, yeah, oh God, the Filoniing. That argument was going on a good half an hour before the show, and then we were waiting for them to finish, and I just said, fuck it, we're going live. And then it went on for another hour and a half. That was nuts. By the way, I kind of agree with Ryan on the whole thing and Az. Jim Alaska for $5. Who is R&B voting for? It's not Trump, LOL. Doesn't matter. I don't care if people vote for. I don't vet my guests on who they vote for.
I don't know, to be honest.
There you go. He doesn't know. I know who I'm voting for. But you know what? Register to vote, and the most important thing to pay attention to is your local elections.
Absolutely.
That is, you know what? That is 100%
local
true.
elections.
Yep.
They're the ones who rule over you. I got some batshit fucking crazy sheriff that I want out of office. Like I don't give a shit who's. I should look into more, but whoever his competitor is, that's who I'm backing. Our sheriff here is fucking nuts, so he needs to go. He needs to fucking go. Nobody needs a crazy fucking cop running around, especially this piece of shit. But yeah. Bear County Sheriff, what a fucking asshole. Ruby for 70 Zardoz is watcha. How about we replace Jeremy permanently with some cool like Johnny Law? Class up the show a bit. Johnny Law's coming on eventually. X-Ray Girl's muted right now, but the invite is out. Okay.
Next week,
Johnny Law. Johnny's great. I love Johnny. 99 IQ, near perfect score for $10. You've been suggested Beyond Journey's End before for pensive elf high fantasy, but have you considered watching it because it's what Hamil the hero would have done? I have not, but I will. I'll watch. It's my favorite genre. High fantasy, dark fantasy is my favorite genre. Conan, Elric, Lord of the Rings, Song of Ice and Fire, going down the road. And it's the least adapted well, and it looks like it's going to remain that way, unfortunately. Imagine a good Elric fucking movie. That would be epic.
That would be. I'm surprised there hasn't been one. That's a great fantasy property to do.
I'm so easily pleased by sort of high fantasy. I like The Outpost. And it's really cheap. The first episodes, the graphics on it are truly awful. But because I like the setting, I give it a lot of leeway. So if you can't please me with things like Wheel of Time,
I don't know if you've seen it.
Rings of Power, it's like,
we're kind of
what
running
about
out.
Piers Anthony's Incarnations of Immortality?
Oh yeah,
like
those
On
are
a
good
Pale
books.
Horse and
Yeah.
stuff. Where's those?
If you have time, Robert, look up. I know you're probably from Hollywood, not a big fan of AI, but there's an AI trailer of 80s dark fantasy Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Fuck, that's awesome.
There's a lot of fun to be had with AI. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like the idea that it's going to replace talented artists and talented filmmakers and all
I think
of
it
that.
become a tool.
I think if it becomes a tool, it's fine. And if it's a tool that gets us a Thundar the Barbarian movie like that fucking AI trailer, it's like, take my money, please. I want that.
Ukla the Mock.
Dude, he looks so fucking rad. And they just, it was always a wild concept, but when you see it in the 80s dark fantasy mode, you're like, oh, this could be really fucking dark and good. You know, and I liked it. 99 IQ, near perfect score for $10. Have you suggested? Have I read that one? I did. As is Wonky Eyebrow for £2 British pounds. F Cancel Pigs. Send in the lawyers. Hail FNT and Star Wars Theory. You know what? We didn't even bring it up this entire episode. I am over it. I am grateful that they tried that. And I would ask them next time they're going to try that, could they time it when I'm on vacation to kind of keep the channel going while I'm gone?
You start organizing one yourself.
Dude, the last one, that Twitter thread one, no shit. I took 2 days off. I can take 2 days off. I'm getting so many subs right now. I'm just going to I'm going to chill for a little bit, hang out with my family. Thank you. You know, and thanks to all the new people. You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, it was, it's a low blow. It's the lowest thing you can do. And it's also the weakest argument. And it's also proof you lost. So find another way to deal with whatever personal issues you have. I don't even care. I'm moving past it. Unless they want to, I'll counterpunch again if they want to come at us again. That's fine. And they will. They absolutely will. The Access Media chiming in, not done with that. I am not done with that. No. I've only just begun. But other channels on YouTube, whatever. I'm blocked by most of them anyway, and I don't interact with any of them on Twitter ever. But thank you for all your support. You guys have been great out there. You guys have been great. And I think at least one channel learned a pretty valuable lesson. Don't you think? Matt Byrne for $4.99. Hey, Shad, after last FNT, remember that Edward is way older than Boogie, and Bella started much younger than Desi. Are we? We're mixing lores here.
This is a lot of crossover, but the thing that makes it passable for most female readers is that they're both hot, and so that makes it.
Whatever. I don't even know. We're already I did it to shut you guys up. We already.
I'm not saying it's not weird. Robert, it is weird.
Late around Christmas time, we're watching the movies and we're going to react to them.
That's great.
I got peer pressured into that. Xandir XI. Oh, is that a number? Is that a Roman numeral? What's Roman numeral XI?
11.
Thank you. Xander 11 for $15. Hey, can you give a shout out to Never Hike Alone, the final cut? Sure. It's a Friday the 13th fan film that is kickstarting with Tom Matthews reprising his role as Tommy Jarvis. So it's called Never Walk Alone, the final cut. It's on Kickstarter. Go check it out. Happy Friday the 13th. Yeah. Google Director for $2 has given us a super sticker. Thank you, Google Director. Wow, we have Google Directors watching. John, well, I mean, we have lots of people from Google watching. Most of them, speak in ones and zeros, but whatever. John Babb for 10 Nerdrotic memberships for 50. Thank you. Harminogen for 2,000 Huffington Posts. Shad, correction. The Mountains of Mist was a reference to Misty from Pokemon.
I disagree. I think that is false. I don't know what's telling me it's false, but I
Hail
think
Rukami?
my feelings seem right.
10 euros says, might be a little trouble at work. Watch Seven again and mentioned the fact that pride is a cardinal sin. Oops. Oh, well. William J. Lee Petomane. William J. Lee Petomane for $5. I got a Kamala ad when I clicked on the stream. Thanks, Kamala. Thanks for the money. Someone's wasting money. Here, you can have some of my toll booth money. There you go. Greetings. How are you going to get across the bridge now? What's your toll booth money? It's $5. It was $10 going over to the Golden Gate Bridge 5 days a week for work. That sucked. Fourth drawer debt. You know what? Tesla paid my bridge toll. That was one of the
that's nice.
They reached out to me on LinkedIn and I asked for double what I was making at my current job. And I said, I want travel, I want gas and toll expenses. And they said yes. I was like expecting them to say no. And I'm like, oh shit. Now I got to commute. So fourth drawer down for $4.99. Next week, FNT brought to you by T-Rex glands. There you go. Way too dumb motherfucker for $1.99. Your super chat is back on. It was disabled for 2 weeks. Wasn't disabled for 2 weeks. Was it, X-Ray Girl? No, it wasn't disabled for 2 weeks. Richard Coleman for 10 British pounds. Imagine Moorcock's Hawkmoon books as well as a well-made series. Think of the friggin' action figures, the board games, the PC games. who wouldn't want to play those worlds? He's kind of a strange cat, you know, but he's also pretty open with his stuff. But the last time he talked about an Elric movie, Robert, he said it was too much like Game of Thrones and they keep shooting it down.
That's so, oh no. Such limited thinking.
Yeah, it is. Commander Cody for $9.99 Super Chat Virgin. We won't be gentle.
Ooh.
Hail, fellow shipping. Oh, God. Can we please have Shad riding the bear in the intro again? Perry, make it happen.
No.
Yes. Tell Jeremy War Eagle for me.
I love my Conan intro. That looks freaking awesome.
What's War Eagle? Is that like, what's the other Bama thing? What's the other? Come on. Oh, Ryan's not here. It's Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thanks,
It's
Lady
Roll
G.
Eagle or War Tide or whatever it is. Whatever. Great to have Disparu on board. Matthew Hammond for $9.99. The Outer Limits Canadian series mentioned earlier was led by Brad Wright and Jonathan Glasner, who developed the Stargate SG-1 series. God, any chance Matthew gets to talk about Stargate, he takes it. I love it. Jonathan Glasner left after season 5 to make The Invisible Man. I remember The Invisible Man. Simon Ho for $5. One thing in common about DEI, Disney Girl Boss, Rings of Power, and Woke Harry Potter, the magic is gone. Graft Webb for $2. Breakaway Day. That's right. Sir Lopez for $10. The next few years will be our 1997 Batman and Robin franchise destruction. It's going to take many, many years for all these franchises to die and to be remade. This makes me sad. And the more they put out shit, the longer it's going to take to come back, and it might not come back. Star Trek's in jeopardy. It's being aged out. It's like old guys like me and R&B love it, but this should be a time Star Trek could shine, but they gave it to a guy who, a hack. They give it to a hack who makes procedurals. You know, Alex Kurtzman can make his Hawaii Five-0 revamp all day long. I don't care. Keep him away from Star Trek.
Russell T. Davis loves Star Trek Discovery. It was one of the things he was praising in the SDC Comic-Con panel was just how amazing all this new Star Trek
Russell T. Davies, soon to be unemployed. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation to Virtue for $9.99. I just turned 30. The age of enlightenment. You're finally smart.
Happy
You're no
birthday.
longer a teenager with more expensive rent and roommates. My friends
Actually
and
an adult.
yes, my friends and siblings assure me I'm still young at heart. God, you're young. Shut up. Conversely, my birthday gifts for my wife were a cane and a $50 gift certificate to Wichita Falls Funeral Home. You know
You're
what's
gonna
funny?
miss your 30s.
I could use those.
Yeah.
I could actually
Rough.
use those. I'm close to AARP. I'm actually there. But Lou Silver for $9.99. I used to be in the business of international film and TV rights for a very long time, and you're absolutely right. Robert Meyer Burnett, streaming absolutely killed it. Sad. Guinea Pig with a fanny pack for $5. Gary, you did very well with the ad reads. I'm surprised you were able to fit them on one piece of paper with the size of font. P.S. Rescue Dan. I have my
2 pieces of paper.
I have my progressives on. That's why when I'm looking at the screen, I'm always doing this because I'm looking through my progressives. Yeah. Rings of Power, millions of dollars to hear the audio, and even that was pathetic. The Blair Witch Project was far better than whatever you want to call this because it was not a show. I like the Blair Witch Project for what it was. That was pretty fucking rad.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
When they got a budget, it got worse. It was weird how that happened.
It was. How do you say this name? X-Ray Girl?
Xgolic.
Xgolic. Okay, I'm gonna get through these and we'll get to the bonus hour. Okay. Thank you for $7.99. Just a quick one to test if I'm still shadow banned. Yes, you are. You're still shadow banned. I didn't see that at all. Thank you. Radio Spec for $19.99. Master and Commander, Return of the King and Pirates, all made in 2003. Definitely got the what's MOC? MOC got the short end, but still talked about today. We have the reverse problem today in the age of great movies. Overshadowing other great movies is behind us. No, it is. Yes. Great movies overshadowing stuff. I don't know. I think there's still going to be stuff that was kind of overshadowed that we're going to look back on from this time and go, that was pretty great. Wish it did better. But not as often. Not as often. We're not getting any Dreads out there. Dread, where people are just hungry for a sequel.
Man, was that movie good?
It was fucking wonderful.
They should crowdfund it.
How come that wasn't a series, man?
It came close.
They were
right?
supposed to do a series, but it never manifested.
No, it should have been. What a great.
The issue with the series is that Dredd was not going to be the main character, though. That's the issue with it.
Let the dude who was whose tweet drinker said Red wrap it up. If not him, you can always pass it on to Brandon Sanderson, who writes like 3 books a year. Says default for $5. Yeah, I'm forgetting his name. The writer, his wife comes in here once in a while. Had a great fucking tweet.
Yes. Oh,
great tweet. I can find it again. Don't worry. Bezos faithfully adapted The Expanse after saving it from cancellation. Then took Lord of the Rings, one of the most beloved franchises in the world, murdered it, then zombified its course for the second season. Made sense. Patrick C., The Expanse went a little crazy towards the end, especially with the polyamorous relationship and being on it's like they ran out of money, but they also cut it too short. So
yeah, they should have done the next 2 books.
Yeah. There was more
and
books.
Gone in the future.
Well, it tells you what the proto-molecule was that you find out. You find out what it's from. It's from a civilization that's against another, I'll just say, space between spaces. That's where the real big bad was coming from. And they didn't finish it. Also, the people involved with getting the Conan rights that they fucked up, Rings of Power, The Boys, Invincible, they're gone. They're gone. Those people were much better executives than the ones we have now. Alex DeSoto for $5. George R. R. Martin's written himself into a technical corner. He can't finish the books because he has too many threads, characters, and no idea how to wrap it up. That, and he just doesn't have the will to write anymore. You know what? That creative well only lasts, you can only dip into it for so long. It's a finite amount of time. Snoopy Diz has gifted 5 Nerdrotic memberships for $25. Thank you. CJ Odin for 35 Zardoz. It says Brandon Sanderson writes books faster than people can read them. This is true. Griff Nizzle for $10. Speaking of The Expanse, how does this abortion Rings of Power get $1 billion budget and they can't find enough Bezos bucks to fund more than 6 episodes of The Expanse final season? Well, it needs minimum 3 more seasons to wrap up. And what happens is after that book, 30-year time jump. There's a 30-year time jump.
Yeah.
Peter F for 25 Polish pesos. I believe most of the world would love a Tolkien-like ending for Jon and Daenerys in A Song of Ice and Fire, the just man and the just woman on the Iron Throne. I think they would, but I wouldn't expect that. I think, Dany gets fucking killed at the end of the books, for sure. That's not how it works up to it. Eric Gidwell, thank you for the one Nerdrotic membership. I appreciate it. Grand Potato for $4.99. Jay, when you were wait, let's get Jay up because this is a super chat for Jay.
Oh, here, I'll find it.
You got to get Jay up on the screen because this is a super chat for Jay. Oh. Hey, Jay. Jay, when you were in Haiti, did you think you were the second coming of Papa Doc?
Oh.
What do you guys say about that, Jay?
Reaction.
Yeah, weird reaction by Jay.
No.
Thunderbolt for $9.99. Hail, chat. The power of 2 has brought new life into this world. Yesterday, I became a father to a baby boy. Can't wait to introduce him to all my favorite movies and shows and new recs from the Fellowship. Hail. Josh Kelsey has dropped $20 and walked away. And we're on a hard deadline here, so I'm going to try to get as many as possible. Griff Dizzle for $10. Shows that sucked after Shippers 1. Just off top of my head. Moonlighting. I'm old. Yes. Dark Skies. X-Files. Buffy. Smallville. BSG. Repurposed. Alias. Alias for sure. Lost. Never finished it. Don't care. Chuck. Yeah, kind of affect Chuck. Bones. Went downhill. Yes. Arrow for sure. Yes, I agree. J-Boy is knackered for £5 At this point, the only Winds of Winter George R. R. Martin is going to give us is post Taco Bell ASMR on a 5,000 hour loop. Then poof, he perishes. Projection target for 50 Rons. Rings can't move dwarves to the unseen world or corrupt them outright. Dwarves are made by alleyway to resist the discord. Well, yes. Morgoth turned whole planet into his ring. Still amplify bad impulses. G&G plays highlights for $5. There is so much money from hedge funds for DEI compliance that they don't care about the fans. They get paid no matter what happens with ratings. That's changing now because that money, the investor money, the venture capital money is drying up. Bubba Doom for $20. Forgive me if it's been said already. I feel George R. Martin is better with TV than he is with novels. Sand Kings was an episode with Jeff Bridges, right? I didn't like Game of Thrones in print, but I like the TV's done. Attack sticks with me. Hail. That's fine. It's fair. I recommend Durini series by American fantasy writer Catherine Kurtz. In my opinion, she's better than George. There you go. Paboxy for 20 euros. Gotta apologize. I missed the Gandalf discussion from last week, but I was busy reading about the rifle that won the War of the Ring, the M1 Garandalf. You shall not pass. N1 clip of ejection sound play in the background. Hail. Hey, Gary, the Brits called it soccer before it was called football. Facts, don't lie. Association football got shortened to soccer. There you go. It's called soccer, Superfly.
Football.
And little kids play it. Little kids play it all across the country, and at halftime they get their little orange slices and Capri Suns, and then they go have pizza after the game. Okay. Griff Nizzle for $10. I honestly thought streaming was going to be the savior of low-budget niche shows. So did I, like Dark Matter, Continuum, Charlie Jade, etc. Instead, they become the sacrificial lambs, it seems. Yep. When Amazon fails in Prime Video, they raise the price on Prime membership to recover the cost, just like they did last year. We'll see it again this year. Oh, yes, they will. They will. Scarier for the third has gifted 5 Nerdrotic memberships. Roger Harmon has gifted 5 Nerdrotic memberships. Thank you very much. Menace McGimsey for $4.99. For the sake of mankind, please don't talk about the Acolyte again. It's turning my brain into Sauron goo. My moronic revenge will know no end. We didn't. Magnum Norris for $2. Ooh, who under her black wings? Oh, I'm not going to sing it out loud, but it's a fucking great song. Danzig, baby. Sith Cake for $5. Which is going to be worse, Rings of Power or the War of the Girl Boss Rohirrim? Rings of Power.
Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
has a chance to be kind of good, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe they just emphasized it on the trailer. I'm guessing not, but whatever.
Yeah. No, I think she'll just be Galadriel. Oh, the moment you find out that we were really attracted to this unnamed character just because she was a woman, and then the story she's going to find a long lost series of female warriors. It's like, okay.
Well, the trailer makes it pretty clear that they're girl boss and Hera, who wasn't mentioned in the appendices. Everything leading up to it, I was down with it. Like Warner Brothers Warner Brothers taking something out of the appendices and putting it out during the Rings of Power was a dick measuring move. Absolutely. And then bringing back Peter Jackson, who got famously ghosted by Amazon. Dick measuring move. I love all of that. Then they went out and it's like, it should be about Helm Hammerhand and his son. Kevin Wells McDonald for $2. Isildur's sister is a gender swap of Anarion. Yep. Well, yes. There's a lot of missing characters and made up characters. The reason they do that is not everything is in the appendices. Plus, as far as story progression, all they have rights to is Lord of the Rings. Now, there is a story progression in the appendices that you can follow, but it would take a lot of extra work. And they fell behind because they were having a hard time finding showrunners, finding people to commit for multiple seasons. Yeah, I have a whole video. I talk to people, Rob, I talk to people. I talked to 4 different people.
You know people.
I know people that reached out to me for my reviews and said, hey, I worked on the show. You want to know what's like, you're kind of over the target. You want to know like what down? I'm all, yes. So I had long phone conversations. I'm like, well, I mean, I can't put your name to it, but can I put it in the video? And they said, yep. So I did.
They hunted for you, you could say.
They hunted. Grand potato for $1.99. Jay's not here. Sorry for my dumb ass question. No need to apologize. never apologize for leaving a super chat, even if you call me a fucking asshole. I don't care. Jesus Davila is gifted 1 Nerdrotic membership for $5. 16-bit. Thank you, Jesus, by the way. 16-bit mascot for $3.50. Hail on this fine Friday of tights or whatever. Exactly. Curly Bob, 17 for $5. Off to work early. Got some vitamins. Gundam would approve of, and FNT. Oh, well, vitamins. And still on. Great start to the week. Enjoy your vitamins. Enjoy your vitamins. Oliver Morgan for $4.99. Just heard from a friend who works at Disneyland. They're opening up applications for male princesses. Of course.
What?
Great.
I'll go to Universal.
That's
Fine.
so weird.
It
Why?
is. Because it's Disney. and
Oilers
Disney's
Workshop for
retarded.
$1.99. Just stopping by to say verisimilitude and okay. Yes, verisimilitude, baby. Greetings from Croatia. Epic FNT says PK for €5. Thank you very much. And the last one of the night is Albert, not a retro, for 5 Canadian pesos. Ditch cable and get an HD UHF antenna. I already have one of those. The old stuff is still the best, and they show older stuff. Watch UHF. Attaboy. All right. That wraps it. What do you got? X-Ray Girl, am I forgetting something?
It's just a Nerdrotic membership gifted by Donut King. But can you read the message I sent? I'm going to just send it now again, just so that you can see. I can talk about that if you want.
Yeah. You should have brought that up earlier.
It slipped my mind, but that's okay because I'll make another announcement as well on top of that. But we are going to be opening RSVPs for the San Antonio meetup, which will be happening Wednesday, October 23rd, 7 to 10 p.m. I just sent the link to the mods. You're going to want to RSVP for tickets. It's a venue 21 plus.
Yep.
So sorry to
It's
the
a bar.
youngins.
It's a bar.
It's a bar. Yeah. So it's 7 to 10 p.m. There also is going to be a food donation if you want to bring some stuff, and then you can get a free drink ticket at the door. It's going to be at Ricky Bobby Sports Bar. We have also, what else was I supposed to say? Oh, I think that's it. Oh,
RSVP.
Your legal name will be required just for the venue purposes because they are going to check your ID.
And the venue is handling the RSVPs, correct?
Yes.
So this is purely by the venue, and it's up to the venue. Also, just to make it clear that we never charge for these things. We're gonna have. I think there's gonna be some food there, and again, there's a food drive going on. If you want to donate some food, some canned goods, that'd be awesome. And what these are is a thank you to you guys for allowing us to have the best job in the world. And they don't exist to be creator schmoozing events. So we also have other people are going to be at the meetup. Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers. There'll be other people there that we'll be announcing as we get closer. But it's a thank you to you guys, and it's a way for you guys to hang out, have fun. So if you're coming to San Antonio for SpaceCon, and this is a pretty big place. So we have actually, this is the biggest venue we've ever had, by far.
Wow.
So depending on how many RSVPs we get, we could maybe boost the number, but it's a pretty big number. It's a pretty big number. So I'm looking forward to this. This is my hometown meetup, my first hometown meetup. And the place is great. So thanks everybody. We appreciate it. I want to thank Robert Meyer Burnett for staying on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my honor.
Love you, brother. I love you, brother. When I get back I'll be out to LA soon. I'll come out and hang out with you and Frank Gore. And
I'll go out, Frank Gore.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Great job, co-hosts. Fuck Ryan. Fuck Jeremy. Az is dead. Who gives a shit? Thanks to the Modrotics. Thanks to everyone who left super chat and donation. Thanks to all the lurkers. Thanks to everybody who participated in the chat. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week with Johnny Law. Go check out his channel. Please subscribe to the Burnett Work. Okay.
Thank you.
The Post Geek Singularity. Great. I rarely miss a late night live stream. It's late night for me.
I'm doing one tonight.
They're insightful. They're great. You're a great streamer. Love you, man. And we'll see you on Rumble or next week.
Gotcha.
Bye, YouTube.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Dale, dale.